Start.
Look, we both have new glasses tonight. Glasses are the same.
If we could please come to order, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. Would like to call this board meeting into session at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all for being here. We're going to go ahead and start with the flag salute. My friend Vaden is going to lead us this evening. Vaden.
Stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Out of closed session this evening, we have nothing to report. I would like to mention that our colleagues, Mrs. Garabay and Ms. Cooper, send their regrets that they are not able to attend this evening. And item 1H, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Sorry,
Sure.
if I have a question.
Yes, and then you would ask it to be removed, and then we can discuss it individually before we move on to the rest of the consent. So do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of the governing board for January 18th, 2024? I will go ahead and move.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of the governing board for January 20th, 2024?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the governing board for January 23rd, 2024? I will go ahead and move. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. And now we have our recognition for this evening, the Principals Award. This is Mr. Clement. All right.
Okay, thank you and good evening. All right, I'm going to have everybody who has an award, if you can bring your award and come stand up here. We're going to make a row. So go ahead and come on up to the front. I believe we have one person on Zoom tonight. If you could raise your hand, Mr. Heinlein will pull you out of the online audience so we can see you. All right, and for those of us who are in person, I'm going to read your name and a little bit about you as we learn about you. When you hear your name, you can step forward so everybody can see you, and we will give you a little round of applause and celebrate you tonight for earning your Principal Award. Very prestigious and very exciting opportunity and event for you all tonight. Congratulations for being here. So I see our friend online. Thank you for joining us. I think we're good. So we will begin with Bridgeport Elementary, Amelia Tucker in 6th grade. Amelia has maintained straight A's in her academic and straight O's in citizenship since she's arrived at Bridgeport 3 years ago. She has always had a radiant smile on her face and such joy to have on campus. She is a member of our PBIS team and gives critical input and feedback on issues related to our school culture, behavior, and incentives. She embodies what it means to give your Bridgeport best. She is a role model for other students on campus, and we're extremely proud of her. Congratulations. Online, we have Bella Serrano from Cedar Creek in 6th grade. Bella is a role model scholar. She takes pride in her academics, work habits, and citizenship grades. She is always kind to others and takes on leadership roles around campus. Bella, thank you for your contribution to our school. We are very proud of you. Congratulations. From Emblem Academy, we have Julian Denoyan in 6th grade. Not only does Julian earn stellar grades, but he has a huge heart and strong character. He takes time out of his day to check in with younger students. He's empathetic, inclusive, and friends with just about everyone, no matter what the age are or the interest. He's always looking for a way to include other kids. We can always count on him to be honest and responsible, and we're thankful to have Julian at Emblem. From James Foster, we have Rachel Jordan in sixth grade. Rachel is deserving of this award because of her willingness to help around campus and her kindness towards others. We can count on her to help anyone in need. She works with younger students to help them transition to class in the morning. If someone needs a friend to play with on the playground, she is always there for them. She works incredibly hard to keep our campus supervisors to implement new games and procedures. Whenever we need new students to help, Rachel is someone we call on. We're so grateful for her, and we're glad she's at Foster. She is a Foster Falcon. Congratulations. From Charles Helmer, we have Milos Williams Collins in fourth grade. Thanks for the help. It lets me know I said that name correctly, so I nailed it. Milos is a kind and conscientious student who gets along well with his peers and is respectful to all of his teachers and staff. He works extremely hard in class and puts forth his best effort with every task he completes. Milos is responsible, highly organized, and always takes his learning seriously. He is a student leader who exemplifies our how and represents Helmers well. Congratulations. All right, from Highlands, we have Owen Delahunty in sixth grade. All right, Owen is one of the kindest, most sincere students that a principal has ever met. Just look at that smile. It's, I'm reading what she wrote, so there's a lot of it. So his principal, Mrs. Bender, recalls a moment a few years ago when Owen was genuinely concerned about his younger sister, Violet. He wanted to make sure that she had arrived to her kindergarten class safely. He shared how he wouldn't be okay unless that he knew Violet was okay. Owen works diligently each day to do his very best in school. His grades are important. However, doing the right thing, being respectful and responsible, and even when no one is looking, and especially when no one is looking, is one of the many reasons why Owen is receiving this award tonight. Congratulations, Owen, Mrs. Bender, and the entire Highland staff believes that you are amazing. We almost got a tear out of her over there. I can see it. All right, from Mountain View, we have Charlie Close in sixth grade. Charlie is the embodiment of unwavering enthusiasm. His positivity is infectious. He is the heart of the classroom, encouraging a culture of camaraderie and perseverance. His smile is permanent. His energy is relentless. He has taught us that every success is worthy of a celebration, no matter how small or big. Charlie approaches learning not as a task, but as a joyous adventure, and he is glad to take us all with him. Congratulations. From North Park, we have Milam Ebebor in sixth grade. Milorn is our student leadership president. He leads by example in his kindness and empathy for others. He represents our school on the district and student advisory committee. Milam is consistently demonstrating outstanding efforts in academics. His community spirit and the pride he takes in his work have earned him the North Park Principal Award. Congratulations, we're super proud of you. From Plum Canyon, we have Blake Collins in fifth grade. Blake Collins is a student that consistently demonstrates our school's PBS pride expectations by being respectful of peers and adults. She radiates positivity naturally and by choice. She looks for ways to be her best self by being proactive with her learning and showing empathy for her peers. When a problem arises, Blake approaches it with a problem solving and kindness. Blake is also on the student leadership team and helps support our kindergartners with the gentleness and leadership. We are so very proud of Blake and her excellence as a Plum Canyon Panther. From Rio Vista, we have Christian Dominguez in first grade. One day, Christian was learning about superheroes and asked his mom, "What is my superpower?" His mom answered, "Love." The students and I paused and it was there, so I think it was good. The students and staff at Rio Vista can agree that he demonstrates his superpower daily. His resource teacher said that he is kind, loving, and welcoming. He always greets everyone with a huge smile and a warm hug. When students are hurt, he's always there to say encouraging words. Despite the daily struggles and obstacles in his life, Christian is always positive. Christian, thank you for being a superhero and spreading the love at Rio Vista. All right, from Rosedale in sixth grade, we have Galea Woldostatic. Galilea, sorry. Galilea is so deserving of this principal award. She is an exemplary scholar and outstanding citizen. She puts forth her best efforts in everything she does. She is a remarkable scholar and enjoys learning. She works hard and excels in her academics. Galilea is kind and outgoing with her peers. Her bright and smile and her personality makes those around her feel welcomed and part of our school community. She's part of our school broadcast team. She's articulate, well-spoken, and can be seen on our weekly, oh, sorry, I missed the line there. She's part of our school broadcast team. She's articulate and well-spoken and can be seen on our weekly broadcast with interesting and engaging segments. We are so fortunate to have Galilea at Rosedale. Congratulations. All right, from Santa Clarita, we have Nukanwa Chioki in sixth grade. Santa Clarita is truly honored to have KJ receive the Principal's Award. KJ is the epitome of our district's core values: respect, integrity, learning, teamwork, and enthusiasm. We have had the privilege of having KJ as a Santa Clarita Bulldog since he was in preschool. Throughout his elementary years, KJ has been a role model to others, not only academically, but also in the area of citizenship. KJ has compassion for his peers and is always willing to help a friend in the classroom or on the playground. As a leader, KJ participates in our Harmony SEL lessons with thoughtfulness and exhibits high levels of emotional intelligence. KJ shows great initiative and consistently challenges himself to go above and beyond in his schoolwork. His depth of knowledge and creativity shines through in all he does. KJ especially excels in written language, using varied vocabulary and vivid language. Congratulations, KJ, on receiving the Principal's Award. From Sky Blue Mesa, we have Baden Magner. That's right. All right, in the mornings when we come to Sky Blue, there are many students who help with the ballet program. One of them has a smile that reaches across the whole parking lot. Seeing Baden's smile is a wonderful way to start the day. Baden is also our student council vice president. His attitude and work ethic in class provides a model for others. He is willing to complete everything on time, carefully and correctly. He's part of our Peace Patrol program. He's also part of Circle of Friends. Baden's natural kindness and all-around willingness to work hard complement his natural abilities in academics, sports, sportsmanship, and social activities on our campus. Congratulations. Okay, from Tesoro del Valle, we have Petra Dudley in sixth grade. Petra is always on task, helpful, and caring towards everyone. She is an excellent role model and always exemplifies our ROAR expectations. She has taken on responsibility of being a Playworks junior coach. She also helps out with valet and greets everyone with a smile. She demonstrates understanding of all academic areas and has a strong work ethic. Petra is collaborative and includes everyone. She is a kind and empathetic student who truly demonstrates leadership both in the classroom and in our school. We're so proud of you. Continue to lead with a roar, Petra. Congratulations. And from West Creek Academy, we have Marcus Nonamaker in 6th grade. Marcus' kindness and respect radiates at West Creek Academy. When Principal Miss Bet says hi and asks Marcus how he is doing, Marcus will share and ask Miss Bet with pure sincerity how her day is going. Miss Bet is certain Marcus does the same with all others as well. It has been a pleasure to see Marcus grow from a TK student to a 6th grader. Marcus's maturity shines through, and Marcus did share with his teacher he misses being younger and at all the great times during the younger years at school. Marcus is a role model, a leader who exemplifies our district's core values of being respectful, having integrity, being dedicated, and sharing enthusiasm towards learning, and being a valued team member of our school at West Creek. Congratulations, Marcus, on receiving the Principal's Award. Your principal, Miss Bet, is so proud of you and will miss you next year. Okay, so I believe before the board says a few words, we're going to take some photos. So we are going to kind of squish together, and I know Monica will come up and help. And parents, you can come on up with your cameras and take some pictures.
We've heard some amazing dedications about you, and my colleagues and I wanted to say a few words as well. Ms. Grease.
Congratulations to all the kids tonight. Principals definitely had some really nice things to say about you guys. You guys should feel really proud. I'm sure your parents are very excited and proud of you guys. So keep up the good work.
Mr. Trunky.
Congratulations, Principal Award winners. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. And it's great, so great to see what role models you have become for all of your classmates. So please keep up the good work.
I too want to congratulate all of you. I loved hearing about not only your academic achievement and amazing character, but about the leadership that you're demonstrating on and off campus, and just the general good example for that you set for those around you. I want to congratulate you and your families as well. Great job. So I know your families are going to want to take a couple more pictures. We're going to go ahead and take a few-minute recess, and you can take some pictures, and then we'll come back to order in about 5 minutes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and call it back to order and get started with advanced written requests to address the board regarding agenda and non-agenda items. Board bylaws 9320, 9322, and 9323 each speak to the process used by the governing board to allow for public comment during its meetings. The bylaws are in compliance with the Brown Act and other applicable law. Board Bylaw 9323 specifically outlines the process for members of the public to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items that are within its subject matter jurisdiction. Members of the public wishing to address the governing board are asked to do the following prior to the start of the public comment section of the meeting agenda to ensure that appropriate time is allotted to all interested speakers and topics. The speaker must either complete a speaker card for each item they desire to speak on and or notify the assistant to the superintendent of each item if attending the meeting in person. This notification is requested to allow the board president to consistently implement public comment guidelines provided in Board Bylaw 9323. Members of the public wishing to make public comment via telephone or virtual meeting software must notify the assistant to the superintendent via email no later than 4:30 p.m. on the day of the scheduled meeting to ensure that the person has the same opportunity to address the board under Board Bylaw 9323 as those who are in attendance. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes per topic for public comment. The total time allotted for each topic is 20 minutes. Depending on the number of persons wishing to be heard on a single topic, the governing board may adjust the time. I've run out of time. Alrighty, the governing board may adjust the time allotted for each speaker or the total time allocated to the topic or issue. The president of the board may take a poll of speakers for and against the topic or issue to determine how best to allot the time on each topic or issue. Members of the public who wish to address the board do so either in person or via Zoom. A speaker may read a statement from an individual not in attendance. However, their allotted speaking time will not be extended to read such a statement. A timer visible to all attendees will be used to manage time during public comment. Any speaker who exceeds their allotted time will have their mic cut off. To ensure that non-English speakers receive the same opportunity to directly address the board, any member of the public who utilizes a translator shall be provided at least twice the allotted time to address the board, unless simultaneous translation equipment is used to allow the board to hear the translated public testimony simultaneously. Please remember that state law prevents the board from acting on any matter not listed on the agenda or from discussing any such matter in detail. We have 3 speakers this evening wishing to speak on AR 3000, the district's email policy. And so we will go in order, starting with Karen F., Karen H., and Laurel Castagna. Karen F.
Good evening, board. Is this on? Okay. So thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. And I thank you for those board members that I got to speak to personally over the last couple of weeks. I haven't had a chance to come to board meetings lately, had family issues, but I got a babysitter for tonight because on the last meeting when I was listening to it, something came up and it caught my attention and I rewound it and I listened to it again. And it's regarding your email retention policy. And so I wanted to look into it a little bit further because I understand from the presentation that we keep our emails in perpetuity for this point, which doesn't seem to be cost effective. But when the board suggested a 1-year time frame, I thought that seemed awfully short. So I did a little research and I found that, most districts don't have a policy at this point, which I found really kind of surprising. And so I looked a little bit further. I found that the LAUSD does have a policy for 2 years. And then there's a law firm by the name of Lozano and Smith, who seem to be like the subject matter experts in this. And I took down some notes. And they said that there were different classifications of emails. There's the class 1, class 2, and class 3. And these are class 3 email and the recommendation from this law firm was to keep the emails for 3 years from the date of creation. Now, the reason why I bring this up as a special needs parent is that when I was with the district just last year and with my son, is that there were a lot of emails that took place between parents and teachers and speech pathologists that were really helpful to getting the resources that he needed during that time frame. So again, when I was listening to the presentation, there were some questions that were brought up. How much will this save the district if we go just to 1 year? What is the benefit in doing just 1 year? And again, I reached out to a friend of mine who happens to be a trustee in neighborhood that's kind of similar to the size of this one in Central California. She's also a special needs parent. And she said, you know, I keep all of my daughter's emails back and forth. And as a trustee, she says, I find this 1 year a little concerning because parents, we keep emails. And if there is an issue where a parent had to come to the school district and heaven forbid needed to file a suit, and if the parent has the emails, but the district does not, it puts the district at a disadvantage. So I would just like, before any decision is made on this, to find out what the cost benefit analysis is. And is there a place where we can compromise, and rather than just doing 1 year, is it possible to do 2, 3, or maybe even for FERPA, 5 years, so that we can have these records? So if we have to come back to the district to meet the needs, especially for the special needs community, I think it would be thank you.
Thank you. Karen H.
Evening. How ironic, I could almost say ditto. And we didn't even discuss the 3 ladies that this is what we're talking about tonight. After listening to the last board meeting's first reading in regards to the data storage capacity to delete, I have learned that this topic is really important to you, Mr. Heinlein and Dr. Hawkins. This is helpful to know, not just for families in this district, yet in addition to the many reasons that records do need to be requested over time. And many times not knowing what a family or employee may need to learn from what is in those records. Parents learn so much from the Emblem Elementary circumstances that they were entitled to know from years of ongoing crisis there. Some families had no idea what they could request on behalf of their child until they faced litigation. I am confident now that 2 weeks have passed since the first reading that maybe you have more information to provide to these trustees. Hopefully, actual fiscal numbers that was missing in the last meeting on what will be the savings to the district. How much to remove 5 years or 3 years of collected information before a severe 1 year storage. I'm hopeful that phone calls and/or texts of conversations to our surrounding school districts share their policies for comparison were done. It was a very simple process for those of us that did just that. I found things out within hours. I'm very appreciative to the 3 trustees on this board that did return my correspondence and did listen to my concern of removing the tiers of data in stages rather than 1 year hold. Clarity and fiscal facts are essential before a second reading or a vote is offered to any negotiations to create a policy. Thank you for hearing my concerns.
Thank you. Laurel Castagna.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to address the proposal to destroy all internal district emails after 365 days. It does not make sense why SUSD would even recommend such a policy because currently there is no policy in place to destroy internal emails. I've researched other districts in this valley, and some of them do not have a specific policy regarding the destruction of emails, or they retain records for a few years. According to the California Public Records Act, it discusses Class 3 disposable records and strongly recommends that internal records are retained until the 3rd year following creation. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act strongly recommends a 5-year retention. As a mother of a child with a 504 plan, it worries me that important emails may be destroyed, which I would possibly need to refer to in order to help my child get the necessary resources. It seems that 1 year is not an adequate amount of time to retain these communications. Some of the emails or records that would be destroyed could potentially be needed to support decisions made by the district or other important matters, and destroying them in such a short period of time could be viewed as a way to hide information. I don't believe that retaining emails is too much of a cost for the district to handle. My question to the board is, why are you proposing records to be destroyed after 1 year? Also, what do these specific emails entail? What records specifically are you wanting to delete after 1 year? It is important that the district is transparent and retains records for a longer period. It concerns me that none of the trustees on the board have chosen to question or ask Dr. Hawkins during their board reports about her reasoning behind disposing of district emails after just 1 year, when the recommendations by other entities is 3 to 5 years. I would encourage the board to have a discussion regarding this issue and would hope that you would decide to retain records for a longer period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kelly O'Keefe with the Michael Hoffman Foundation.
Okay, good evening, esteemed members of the Saugus Union School District Board. My name is Kelly O'Keefe, and I'm here representing the Michael Hoffman Foundation, an organization dedicated to supporting children and families affected by cancer. Tonight, I have the privilege of inviting every school within our district and board member to participate in the annual Walk for the Michael Hoffman Foundation. It's scheduled for April 20th and will be held at Central Park. As many of our schools are already embracing the Easy Scan program to promote a healthy lifestyle among our students, we see the walk as a wonderful extension of these efforts. Participating in the walk offers an additional opportunity for students to accumulate laps outside of the structured school environment, further encouraging physical activity and community development. You can look at this as the new Final Mile Challenge that the city of Santa Clarita no longer hosts because they're not doing the marathon. The course is a mile, so they can also accrue a mile, and we can offer other incentives if the children participate. Maybe they get extra scans for participating outside of school. Understanding the importance of inclusivity and engagement, we're offering a discounted enrollment as well as sponsorships for all schools to participate. The gesture aims to maximize participation and make it easier for our schools to join in on this meaningful event. To make the event as interactive and rewarding as possible, we suggest the presence of an advisor from each participating school to facilitate the live scanning. This is not only going to enhance the experience for the students, but also allows us to accurately capture the participation in live time. We also encourage all participants to wear their school spirit wear during the walk, fostering a sense of unity and pride among the students and staff at the various schools. Should you have any questions or need further clarification, I'll be in the back. I have some flyers, as well as I can be reached at Kelly, Kelly, @mhf.org. And like I said, I'm available in the back for flyers. Thank you for considering this opportunity to join in making a difference in the lives of children battling cancer. Your support can help us create a powerful and inspiring community event that not only brings about awareness, but also funds for this critical cause to promote a healthy and active lifestyle among our students. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Heinlein, is there anybody online that would like to speak? Okay, thank you. Then we will go ahead and, I'm sorry. Yeah. We will go ahead and move on to Saugus Teachers Association, Dr. Carlene Schut.
Good evening, Cabinet, Board, and community members. Are you up here? Okay. Congratulations to the Principal's Award recipients. What an incredible honor to be selected by your principal as you represent the excellence of your entire school. Well, since it's almost Valentine's Day and love is in the air, I thought I'd share a poem. Ready? Roses are red. Violets are blue. This union job is huge, and we couldn't do it without you. The e-board is invaluable. That couldn't be more true. They support and represent and keep track of every cent, Sandy. They correspond and take copious notes, truly invaluable, and keep the union afloat. Discussions and collaborations never lack, as bylaws are there to keep us on track. The bargaining team is second to none as they survey and represent the members, every single one. As negotiations continue and get more intense, this bargaining team is ready to talk dollars and cents. As the sign often says of the backyard dog, beware, please don't underestimate us because our teachers, we most definitely care. And tonight, as our STA spotlight, we have Kyle Evans. And this was lovingly written. Our Vice President, Linda Valdez, has lovingly put these words together about him. It's not in poem format, by the way. We are honored as the Saugus Teachers Association to spotlight our friend and colleague, Kyle Evans. Kyle has been a teacher in our district since 1999. He first taught at Rio Vista for many years before moving to join the staff at Cedar Creek. As a classroom teacher, Mr. Evans wore many hats, coordinating and holding many leadership roles and participating in numerous committees, both at the site and district level. Math field day, science fairs, Toastmasters, ELD coach, master supervising teacher, mentor, curriculum counsel, testing coordinator, GATE, Title I, intervention tutoring, homework club, technology, site council, writing committees, Gold Rush days, eco days, track and field, and the list goes on. It didn't take long for Mr. Evans to become a celebrated and sought-after teacher. Both students and parents alike asked to be a part of his class. Mr. Evans has a way with students and families. He makes them feel welcome and included. He meets with them where they are. He'd often open his door early in the morning before the start of school for students to help or get help. He'd hold chess club during his lunch where students could come and build relationships while participating in a little friendly competition. And after school was no different. He always made himself available to meet with students and families. Mr. Evans took building a caring school community to heart. Long before PBIS or Sanford Harmony, he was fostering character, regard, and esteem in his students. His rapport with his students is unmatched. You could often hear him say in the halls with a familiar, "Hey, Tiger, how you doing?" which always put a smile on a student's face. Now, let's take a moment to recognize Kyle Evans, the colleague. He's the guy you love to have on your team. Compassionate, generous, kind, helpful, the planner, the doer with a great sense of humor. A true player, we did have a rhyme there. A true player, whomever has been fortunate enough to work alongside him knows the gift he is to our profession. And while this is all amazing, it gets even better. After many years as a general education teacher, Mr. Evans has dedicated his most recent years to earning his credential in special education. Our district is benefiting from his expertise in a new arena. It takes commitment, a passion for learning, and a tremendous heart to decide to go back to school in the latter part of your career, to pivot and give even more by working with our most vulnerable students. It's actually very cool. Kyle, we honor you. We celebrate you. We thank you for your humble leadership, gracious spirit, and all you do for our Saugus students, families, and members. You are a true gem. Thank you.
Likewise, everyone. Yes, I am just so fortunate to work in a district like this where I look around the room and everybody has just been so supportive, admin, coworkers, my RFET partner right here, Sandy Ballinger next week, and Carlene Chute, ELD coach that I got to work with for years. So thank you so much, everyone. I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you both. And representing the California School Employees Association, Chapter 112, is Ms. Delmy Calderon here? Okay. And we will move on to Saugus Administrators Association, Ms. Elizabeth Bellina.
Good evening, Governing Board and Cabinet. My name is Elizabeth Bellina, and I'm the principal at Rosedale Elementary School. First, I want to congratulate all the Principal Award recipients this evening. We're so grateful for your example, your leadership, your hard work, and your commitment to your education and making your school community a better place. We're grateful for the shining stars that were here this evening, and we encourage you to continue on your path of greatness. At each school site, we continue to have a laser-like focus on academic achievement, and each school and each site is hard at work on making sure that all students are learning at high levels. Recently, all students completed the iReady Diagnostic 2. We are working with our staffs to celebrate the gains that have been made and identify those students who need additional support. At Rosedale, we saw an increase of an additional 132 students move to the green, which is at or above grade level in both reading and math. While these are good gains, we still have work to do. At all sites, we are placing an emphasis on goal setting with each student to help them better understand the importance of making academic progress. At Rosedale, as well as other sites, we've been tracking our progress on a school-wide data wall. Rosedale's data wall can be found on the library windows on the main campus and then the office at Rosedale North. These data walls were created for our students and staff to emphasize the importance of working hard to make growth. At Mountain View and reading, 200 students moved to the green, and for math, 174 students moved to the green. Next Tuesday, they are having an On the Road to Green celebration. Flory, the iReady mascot, will be coming to campus for a special celebratory assembly with fun activities, and all students who demonstrated growth in either reading or math will receive a certificate. Several factors have contributed to the overall growth as a district, one of which is the help and support of our intervention TOSAs. At each site, we have an intervention TOSA to help us better support and provide intensive intervention to our students. Within our professional learning communities, our professional learning teams are working to provide systematic support to all students to ensure that each student gets what they need. Having the support of the intervention TOSAs has helped us to better provide the tiered support our students need. We want to thank Ed Services for arranging for an iReady representative to come and work with our teachers to help them better understand how to use iReady tools more effectively. Rosedale teachers came away with a greater understanding of how to use the program to better target students' individual needs. Additionally, while we continue to focus on making sure that students are getting their weekly minutes in both academic areas, we are now placing an emphasis on lessons passed, as there is a correlation to student growth and lessons passed. Academic growth is greatly impacted by student engagement and more specifically, attendance. Weekly, Dr. Hawkins continues to update us on how we are doing as a district with attendance. There's some friendly competition in these weekly updates as we see our school's rankings compared overall. Having held the bottom position for almost 2.5 years, I'm proud to report that Rosedale has come off the bottom. Woohoo! Thank you. At Rosedale, we had the largest decrease in chronic absenteeism of any school in the district with a 7.3 year-to-date drop. Plum Canyon has also gone from being at the bottom half of the attendance last year to the top half, decreasing their chronic absenteeism rate by approximately 2%. Overall, our district has made good growth year to date since last year, and at each school site, we are continuing to emphasize the importance of attendance. Our teachers and school leadership teams have greatly supported improving our attendance by implementing engaging activities, incentivizing attendance, and celebrating those with positive attendance. At Rosedale, we have student leadership who creates the weekly broadcast with interesting segments like getting to know the staff around campus, asking students who they're rooting for in the Super Bowl, and what kind of books they like reading. At several sites, there are fun activities on the playground, things like Fun Friday on the Yard and Music Mondays. Our celebrations include attendance raffles, before school attend dances with the beloved honey buns, free recesses earned by classes who have 100% attendance for a designated amount of days, and many more. With Valentine's Day tomorrow, there is love in the air. I want to express on behalf of myself and SAA how we love the positive impact our jobs have on the students of the Saugus Union School District. We are all working hard to support each and every student to ensure they're learning at high levels because we know that an education is priceless and will serve them well throughout their entire lives. We recognize that this is a collective effort, and we're grateful to work in a district that's committed to seeing each child make growth. Truly, together, we achieve more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belina. And representing district parent leadership organizations, school site council, or other district advisory groups, Ms. Michelle Wagner, PTA president with Rosedale Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Wagner. I'm happy to be here representing Rosedale Elementary as PTA president for the second time. It's almost hard to believe we just celebrated our 100th day of school last week. Looking back on this school year, our school has so much to be proud of. PTA's mission is to positively impact the lives of all students and their families. We aim to help create a positive learning environment for both our students and teachers and also build a bridge between the home and school. As a PTA, we do this by providing opportunities for our students and their families to build meaningful connections, not only amongst one another, but with our entire school community as well. Through our events and programs, our students and families have been able to make lasting memories they'll be able to take with them far beyond Rosedale. Just last week, our students traveled into space with our planetarium assembly. We also just wrapped up a reading program, the Read Bowl Championship, which was a global competition. Collectively, our students read more than 4,700 hours over the course of 4 weeks. I'm also happy to report every grade level is once again going on field trips this year. We've also been able to provide teachers with grants to enhance their classroom materials. From numerous events such as assemblies and family nights already had, we have even more to look forward to this school year with our Reflections Art Gala, Multicultural Night, Career Day, Spring Dance, Talent Show, just to name a few. Perhaps one of the things I'm most proud of though this school year, being the parent of a special needs child myself, is the creation of our Special Needs and Inclusion Committee. As I mentioned earlier, our goal is to make a positive impact on all of our students. By providing accommodations at our events, we can attempt to remove possible barriers that may be preventing students and their families from attending. Examples of accommodations may include reserved seating, reserved parking, or headphones for students with sensory sensitivities. We even created a Zen zone at our Harvest Festival this year, a space for those that needed a break from the hustle and bustle of all the festivities. Of course, our PTA would not be successful without our parents, volunteers, and support from our amazing families, teachers, staff, and administration. Together, we continuously strive to create a school environment that our students can look forward to attending daily and be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Representative from the Child Development Program, Dr. Karen Fractor.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce Holly Baker, our Assistant Site Supervisor of Highlands, who will be speaking tonight on behalf of the Child Development Program.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, and community members. My name is Holly Baker, and I'm the Assistant Site Supervisor at Highlands Elementary School Child Development Program. Tonight, I would like to highlight my students and the incredible environment that we have fostered together these past 7 months. Together, my 79 students, my 5 staff, and I have created an environment that supports and emphasizes play. First, let's start by defining play. Play is any activity that is freely chosen and directed by the players, intrinsically motivated, and has structure or rules, is imaginative, non-literal, and mentally removed from real life. But play isn't just a fun thing that we use to fill time and release energy. Play is crucial to child development. It aids in the development of children's emotional, cognitive, social, and physical abilities. Did you know that in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 31 states that states parties recognize the right of the child to rest and leisure, to engage in play and recreational activities appropriate to the age of the child, and to participate freely in the cultural life and the arts. And in mentioning that, that is exactly what we do at Highlands CDP. We play. Envision this. If you were to walk into the primary room or primary yard at any given point, you would not see students. You'd see space warriors over there in the most intensive battle our galaxy has ever seen. You'd see ninjas attempting to break into the castle to steal the treasure. You'd see Michelin star chefs in our home center creating the most interesting soup combinations. Today's soup consisted of 1 corn cob, 2 bananas, 3 apples, and a piece of chicken. These are just a few real examples that I have had the pleasure to witness in the past few days. But the possibilities of play are endless, especially when you possess the imagination of the students at Highlands. Our playtime does not just end after free play. Our structured activities are forever changing and adapting to the playful needs of each of our students. On Math Mondays, we play a version of the card game called War. When instead of sitting at a table against one student, our children are running across the room, battling each other and stealing each other's cards and people. Or we build domino towers as tall as we possibly can reach. And when the tower eventually topples, we work together to find the product of all the dominoes, either through multiplication or division or addition, depending on grade level. On Literacy Wednesdays, we tell and write stories of our imaginary friends, and those friends truly become real within the four walls of our classroom. The Child Development Program is more than just childcare. We are also the expanded learning program. Students come to us as an extension of their school day. We take the foundations of what they learned during the school day and we add to it. But instead of simply providing them with worksheets, we learn through play. Renowned psychologist John Piaget states, "Play is the work of childhood." Furthermore, Mr. Fred Rogers elaborates on this statement by saying, "Play is often talked about as if it were relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning." We always want to remember why the foundation of play is essential to the students of Saugus Union School District. Thank you.
Thank you both. Now moving on to superintendent and cabinet reports. Mrs. Berries.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to echo what a lot of people have said tonight. I know the students have left, but congratulations to all the students who earned the Principal's Award tonight. It is one of my favorite parts of the evening and getting to hear all the wonderful things about the students and get to see all of the work that we put in action. The other thing I would just like to say, in our Department for Student Services, online registration opened up on Monday, and also our open enrollment transfer window. So if you are new to our district, you can go ahead and register and get that situated, as well as if you're from outside the district or you are already in our district and you want to put in a change of school. All of our schools are open with the exception of Plum Canyon. That will be a school that remains closed next year. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is I hope everybody has a really relaxing extended weekend that's coming up. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Clement.
Right.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight I wanted to highlight an opportunity we had last week. The three 21st century TOSAs and myself had the opportunity to go to the Museum of Tolerance for 2 days. That's a national alert something coming through. Didn't do it. But we were down there gaining our certification in being culturally proficient. We spent 2 full days at the museum with museum staff, and we heard several different speakers, including a survivor from the Holocaust speak. It was very moving. Not my first trip to the museum, but it had been a little while, and I just encourage anyone, if you haven't been, or if you haven't been for a while, to go down and check it out, because it was kind of life-changing. We will continue that work with 3 more online visits with that team that went, as well as the other school districts that were involved. We'll be excited to bring that work back and become more culturally proficient within our own arena.
Thank you. Dr. Stevenson.
Nice. Got a couple of slides. I do want to say congratulations to all of our Principal Award winners. Some outstanding students, and wow, their character and charisma when they were up here was pretty amazing. I'm excited because on our consent calendar, we have 2 agreements that we are super excited about. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about them. You can go to the next slide. Obviously we have a dual language immersion program at Highlands, as we know. When we started the program, we adopted a 90-10 model. So we would start with 90% Spanish, 10% English in kindergarten. We've started with 2 classes, and each year we increase by 2 classes. And so the ideal program should be 90-10, then 80-20, then 70-30, and so on until we reach 4th grade, where it becomes a 50-50 model. And ideally, we would have each classroom self-contained with a bilingual teacher. Unfortunately, it's been very difficult for us to hire teachers with the proper credential. They have to have a BCLAD credential and multiple subject credential in order to teach the DLI program, the bilingual portion. So what has happened to us is we have gone from kindergarten and first grade, we've been able to stick with the model, but then at second grade, because we haven't had the staffing, we've had to have an English teacher and a bilingual teacher. So we have 2 teachers still, but they're sharing a class, and it's turned into a 50-50 model where 50% of the day is with the bilingual teacher in Spanish, and then they switch classes. And then the other half is with the English only teacher teaching in English. So what we've done is we're going to be going on to 5th grade. So we're going to need yet another 2 teachers. So at this point in time, to run a true model program, we're looking at needing 5 teachers that are bilingual. So you can go to the next one. Some of the things that we've done is over the years, right? We've posted typically on EdJoin, both our summer postings and our current job posting, we've had 0 applicants. We've posted at universities. We've tried to partnership with universities. We've gone to recruitment fairs. We've done booths at conferences and where we've had contracts there ready to I'll interview on the spot and give you a contract right now. And all of those have been unfruitful. We've also looked at our own teachers that we have here who are credentialed to teach in the bilingual program. And we only have 2 that are not teaching. One is one of our stellar TK teachers who we also know it's hard to qualify to teach TK. So we're caught in the middle, right? So we after trying to go through all these hiring things, it's been very difficult. So you can go to the next slide. What we have tried to do also is to contract. I looked into contracting with some agencies that bring teachers in from out of the country. It was a pretty daunting task trying to do it on our own because we would have to have an immigration attorney that we would have to work with and know how to work with all of the visas and things like that, and offer housing, and it's a pretty complicated process. Dr. Bruna, our Director of Human Resources, found out that the California Department of Education actually has agreements with the Spanish and Mexican consulates, and attended some meetings to find out how we can get on board with this. So the agreements that are on the contract, what we would do is we will interview in March and April. These are teachers that are coming to us could possibly come to us from Spain or Mexico. They're bilingual teachers. They've already been vetted by the departments of education in their countries and California Department of Education. They've already been successful teachers in their countries. And then the CDE and the consulates help prepare the visas and prepare for California credentials. They follow the same guidelines as any of our probationary teachers. We're supposed to hire them for 1 year if we hire them. We can extend up to 5 years. It's how long they're allowed to stay in the country with the particular visa that they have. If they're not competent, we can non-reelect them just like with any other teacher. So we don't have to keep them if they're not successful teachers. And then our requirements basically are to attend the interviews, right? And offer an employment contract. We need to communicate with them prior to their arrival, like here's some great places to live, here's where the local Social Security office is, and give them some of that kind of information. We need to make sure that they have proper onboarding, which would follow the same onboarding that we always have here. And then offer support like our PAR program or induction program that we already offer our teachers. And then we need to communicate regularly with California Department of Ed. So we're very hopeful that this will help bring us some bilingual teachers that not only can teach our students Spanish in the dual language immersion program, but also share their culture from their countries. So.
Hey, Mr. Heinlein.
This budget season is shaping up to be a real doozy. I heard today that the state is now $6.7 billion lower in revenue collections since the governor unveiled his budget at the beginning of January. And there's also talk of having not just a 0.76 COLA, but a no COLA year. So just to keep those thoughts in mind as we move forward in the budget season. Also, though, wanted to end on a positive. I wanted to thank everyone in the board for attending our cool ribbon cuttings at Helmers and Highlands over the past 2 weeks. And it gave us a good chance to show off the work we've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hawkins.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate all of our students who were awarded with the Principals Award tonight. It's wonderful to see them. I think the older I get and the longer I'm in education, the more I appreciate the youth that we serve every day and their unique take on the world and growing up. And so it was wonderful to see that. I also want to congratulate Mr. Edwin Clement. He was Region 15, which is in the LA area, award winner for the Association of California School Administrators Academic Diversity Award. So he was recommended. He was recommended by the local Santa Clarita Valley chapter and then competed against other school districts within LA County and was recognized in that role and will be moving on to the state. So it is quite an honor. And while he's shooting daggers at me right now for announcing it, I think it is fair and it is something that is close to his heart and who he is as a leader. And so it's very appropriate. The last thing that I wanted to talk about real briefly is it has been very unfortunate in the last week and a half, but we've had two very serious car accidents. From leaving our parking lots where cars have encountered pedestrians. Now, the cars have been following the rules of the road and the pedestrians have been following the rules of the road. And so it is truly an accident, but we've been in contact this week with our local sheriff's department, as well as the city council. We're looking at doing some educational programs for folks, but I just want to remind everybody, please, please be careful because these accidents, again, were on the city's street portion. They were on the sidewalk portion. Those are not areas that we have supervision or control of. They weren't due to people being irresponsible other than not looking that second direction when you're pulling out of a parking lot. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that and be looking for any of those workshops. We're looking, as we always do, at student safety, and we'll continue to look at that. But in these particular cases, there wasn't a whole lot we can do. What we're really glad about is that the students and those that were involved in the accidents are okay. So we're glad that they're doing well, and hopefully we won't have anything else like this happen. So thank you.
Okay, thank you and congratulations, Mr. Clement. On to board reports. Ms. Grease.
Nothing for me.
Okay, Mr. Trunky.
I want to first congratulate all of our principal award winners. Also, congratulations to Mr. Clement for the AXA Region 15 Administrator of the Year for valuing diversity. Well deserved. I also want to say thank you to the staff at Highlands for the ribbon cutting for their new old library. It was great to visit the Highland site and see all of the great things that are going on at their library. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Again, congratulations to our principal award winners. Just wanted to update a few things. On January 29th, the Santa Clarita Valley School Trustees Association held their semi-quarterly meeting at Helmers. It was nice for everyone, all the different board members around the valley to be able to see the new building at Helmers. We had a few speakers that were quite engaging, and the meeting was well attended by community members as well. It was nice to see. As you've heard, we had 2 ribbon cuttings since our last meeting, which is very exciting. It's always nice to break ground and stick a shovel in the ground, but it's nice to see when our buildings get completed. And on both occasions, I wanted to make sure, and so I wanted to express the same sentiment here tonight. Just warm, sincere gratitude to our community members who have partnered with our school district through Measure EE to make sure that all of our students and staff and communities have top quality educational facilities that they can take advantage of every single day. Wanted to let my colleagues know the LA County School Trustees Association is having another mixer coming up on February 26th. It is in Linwood, so if you're not opposed to making quite a drive, you can mix with some of our colleagues around LA County. And then, of course, tomorrow is a very, very special day. Love is in the air and it fills our entire country. I'm sure you're aware, I'm speaking, of course, about the fact that pitchers and catchers report to most of our Major League Baseball teams. So it's a very, very exciting time. I hope you all enjoy it. All righty, moving on to our consent calendar. Does anyone have any items from the consent calendar that they would like removed?
I do.
Okay, which item?
G15.
Item 3. G15, conduct second reading and adoption of board policies and administrative regulations 3000s, business and non-instructional operations. Okay, so we will go ahead and remove that. And so in that case, do I have a motion to approve item 3G15?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Heinlein, do you have anything that you'd like to say about this, or do we want to move on to board comments and questions?
I'd like board comments and questions.
Okay.
For 100.
100.
For 100. Okay, Ms. Grease.
I would like just more time to review the information as to why we are trying to enforce a policy that I don't believe anyone on the board has asked to create this policy. And I don't feel like since the last board meeting, at least me personally, that I've gotten some of the answers to some of my questions. And I just would like a little bit more time to understand the why and cost and just a little bit more information. And I feel like with 2 board members not here, I feel like we should as a board just pause and just get more information.
Thank you. Mr. Trunky.
I think it's, in my opinion, that it's very reasonable for the district to adopt a policy regarding specifically email retention, but obviously there are other aspects of document retention that are part of this policy. Many organizations, school districts included, have policies like this. Some differ on the length of time. That's certainly something I think that can be discussed. I think it is, I want to clarify, because I know a couple of the speakers had mentioned that this was something that the board had proposed. And I just want to clarify that this was a change in the policy that was brought to the board with a recommendation from cabinet. I think, like I said at the outset, I think it's a perfectly acceptable policy. And I'd like to see us bring this back. I'm happy to have a little bit more time to consider this, although I think we should try and agree on a specific time period for this, but I certainly am okay with bringing this back for a third read and possible approval. Or just a third read if that's what everybody's looking for.
Okay, Ms. Grease, did you have
Just
something further?
to add, I'm not negating the fact that we should probably have a policy, but what I would like to have is more discussion around the why and the benefit, the pros and the cons versus just getting it into the consent calendar and then approving. I just think I personally would like to understand more about it.
Okay. I mentioned at our last meeting that this policy seemed reasonable to me, mostly because it was in complete alignment with the school organization's policy for whom I work. The organization I work for adopted a very similar policy a few years back, and it seemed reasonable to me. There were some questions brought up since our last meeting that I felt it important to look into, and found like a lot of you, that, yeah, across the state, Districts vary anywhere from 3 to 6 months on their policy to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, up to 5 years. I looked for recommendations from the Department of Education. There was a law that was proposed that actually passed through both houses of our state legislature, but was vetoed by the governor a couple years back. But the CDE definitely recommends that school districts have a policy. That being said, it seems like most districts around the state still haven't gotten around to adopting one. But I think it is worth discussing the timeline. I did want to ask a couple of clarifying questions, if you don't mind, Mr. Heinlein. Just to get clarity on what types of communication we're talking about here, because there are things that are included in emails that would fall under a different category that we'd be required by law to retain for a lot longer time, correct?
Correct. And when you compare our current policy with the current template from CSBA, it mirrors it, right? So if you were to look at, I looked at Newhalls, for instance, it's the same, right? And it's silent on the amount of time to keep it, but it says that, you know, every type of electronic record should be classified if it belongs in the classification of class 1, class 2, class 3. If it's a record. If it's not a record, like was it the Secretary of no, was it?
Yeah.
You know, their analogy of email is not just one type of record. It can contain multiple different types of records. It could be like a normally what you would say on a telephone to somebody, right? Because now most people don't pick up the phone, they'll just email it. Where that's not really a record that is classified as a class 1, class 2, or class 3, right? It's just it's a note. Other times emails used to send records that do have a classification schedule and would be kept permanently or 5 years or 3 years. And the policy really says that staff is supposed to make that determination and treat that record like it's supposed to be, but then also regularly purge their mail, right? So what we have is a system that keeps all mail, right? It doesn't care if it's a note or if it's an actual record, it keeps everything. And so there is no stopping that growing, right? So it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. It's never been purged since we've switched to Gmail, I think over 11 years ago. So in order to get in front of that, you know, the intention is to say, okay, well, we're going to keep everything for this specific amount of time, because our staff don't have the ability to just delete a record, right? They could delete it from their email, but we still have it in the archive. And that's kind of like the difference between like what we have and what some other districts might have, right? So if a school district was running their own like Outlook Exchange server, right, then they're going to have a lot more pressure with size, because their storage is going to cost more because they're going to maintain their own servers than like we would with using Google. So there's a lot of variables in this, and really, you know, policy always lags technology, and that's one of the things that we're seeing here.
Yeah. You mentioned at our last meeting that that at least part of the reason that we were adopting this policy was a cost savings issue. Is this strictly a cost savings in terms of what additional storage would eventually cost, or are there other costs involved?
I think that's been a little misconstrued, because the cost savings is not on getting more hard drive space. The cost savings is responding to public records requests that require us to go through the 11 years plus of email. And if there's a hit, it's a very manual process once we pull all those records, right? So the cost saving is on staff time, and the cost saving is potentially on attorney time to go through all those records.
Okay.
But sorry, I just want to clarify, because there was a discussion last time about how we have a terabyte of storage, and I know that we pay for storage. Like I personally, I know that companies pay for storage. So what was that comment about?
Because we are a Google Gmail district, right? So we buy what's called the Education Plus license for every current user, students, teachers, what have you, right? So there's a cost for that. And with that comes additional storage. So the storage that we receive is variable depending on how many active licenses we
Correct.
have,
Yep.
right? So if we were to say, okay, we need more than what our allocation is now, there is a cost for that.
Right, so what is that cost? Because I think part of why I'm challenging it is the last time we talked there, the comment was there was a cost benefit to doing this. So I'm just trying to understand what is the cost benefit?
So I'm more focused on the big cost, which is employee and attorney time. The storage, if we were to ask Google, hey, we need more space, they would say, okay, you can have 100 terabytes for $300 a month, right? So our email storage now is somewhere between 7 and 8 terabytes,
Mhm.
right? So $300 a month for 100 versus what we have now over 11 years, it's not really about more storage space on a server.
Sorry, so it's not a cost benefit. Sorry, I'm just really trying to understand why.
Employee time and attorney bills. That's the savings.
All right, so we're really trying to mitigate potential litigation because of
No,
being able to pull
No.
public records
no,
requests and those documents associated with that. Because
Absolutely
it takes
not.
time and money and people to pull those documents. So that's what we're talking about.
the second part is true. The first part is not.
I still would like more time because I think thoroughly confused by what the conversation was the first time and now this conversation, because I do remember it being a cost benefit solution to having to do this. And I guess I just don't understand outside of manpower pulling records for public records requests, right? Which I think the public has a right to pull. It seems like there's no other benefit.
Absolutely. But when there is a lot of them and it's not really related to necessarily like school business, right? We're used to records being like, please send me a salary schedule. Please send me certified payroll records for a construction project. But when it becomes, I want to know how many times this person's name is in an email.
Right, but that's important to that person. And I think the public has a right to know, has a right to those records.
Absolutely, but
Absolutely.
it comes with a cost. And-
Totally. I understand that. And I'm trying to understand what that cost is because I don't want to inhibit somebody from wanting to understand whatever the case might be through a public records request and not be able to get the information that they need because we're eliminating records
So-
because of whatever
But when
the
you
reason.
say a record, that's like a contemporaneous record, right? It's not like an actual record that we would have ever kept.
But
Or are required to keep.
you're keeping it now, right?
Because
So-
we've never
Yeah.
looked at that before. I think the part that is challenging here is the amount, nobody is questioning wanting the public to have access to anything. However, it is difficult when it is about emails that involve students, staff, board members, all different sorts of things, to ensure both that the public has the right to have those documents and that we are appropriately protecting the privacy of the individuals involved. So there is no way for us to eliminate the cost of running those through our legal team. Because each one is very different, each one is very unique. Each one involves a whole variety of duplicate emails and things like that. So we do everything we can in looking at district staff costs to make the legal cost be as limited as possible. So, I mean, if we look at staff time, there is a cost there, but let's say we just look at staff time and we say, well, it's part of doing business and we owe it to our public. Fine. But we still have to pay the legal costs. And so what we're looking at is trying to have a manageable amount for those timeframes. So it was recommended by Mr. Heinlein after his research seeing some school districts that have 3 months, 6 months, that we would keep a whole year. And it's a year every day. So it's not, there's going to be more than the year's worth of emails. It's not like everything that gets written in June of 2024 will be deleted July 1. It will be kept until June of 2025. So we will still be dealing with a larger number. If the board sees fit that we have a different time frame, that's fine. That's perfectly within the purview of the board to make that recommendation. And we support that. We made our recommendation, not because we had a personal preference, but because when we were looking at it, we felt like a year was more reasonable to what we were seeing in all of the same size district, meaning same size staff or similar sized staff, to the policies that they had. We didn't feel that 3 months was reasonable. Then the more we looked into it, more people we talked to, not just in education, but in other industries, found that it's difficult when you're doing 180 days. So we still felt comfortable with the year, and we brought that forward. The last meeting, the board said, bring it forward for a second read and approval. There was no request to change. Now you're asking to bring it
Well,
back.
to be honest, like I asked questions the first time. It wasn't like I was.
Yes, Mrs.
complicit.
Grease, you did. I'm not saying you were complicit. I'm saying the board as a whole, right? The board operates as a collective.
Totally, and that's why I'm asking to
And
have
so
it removed so that the board
as-
collectively could make a decision based on your research and recommendation.
Absolutely. And
Right.
so my feeling is that we brought it back the way it is because was the direction that we were given. Now, if the board, as its majority tonight, asks us to bring it back again with different information or for a special report or whatever you want, we will do that.
So that's
And
what I wanted
base
to
it on your
ask.
recommendation.
Excuse me. So that's what I wanted to ask. I'm hearing that we'd like to possibly have some more time to deliberate. I think it's prudent that we include our two absent colleagues in the conversation. Do we want to give any direction this evening in terms of altering the timeline? Do we want to go with
I
1 year,
think
2 years, 3
personally,
years?
a year to me is just too soon. I would like to look at 3 and 5 year. I understand that there is a mix of different districts that have a mix of different policies,
Mhm.
but we need to make a policy for Saugus and not any other district. And I believe personally, a year is too soon. I'm not negating the fact that we don't need a policy, but I would like to look at a different timelines and what that means for each class, if that's the right way to categorize it.
Pardon me?
Will they approve with 3 years?
I don't know. Mr. Heinlein and I are asking if it's merely just a correction of timeline, it's not having more members here or anything like that. I mean, if we're making the recommendation that it's 3 years, would we approve with as corrected and we'll change the 1 to 3? It's not a problem.
I would be comfortable with 2 years.
Would as well.
I would be comfortable with getting more information to understand the different classes and just have a better in-depth knowledge before I vote.
So if you're asking to bring it back, Mr. President,
Mhm.
I'm going to make the recommendation that we don't bring it back until March 12th. Not
Okay.
because we don't have time to put it together, but the next meeting has a lot of moving parts with being right before the March 15th timeline. And so I just would rather have us have more time to have the discussion than feel rushed with all the other things that we have for that meeting. And
Sure.
there isn't a
time.
There isn't a
that you're
time,
up
it's
Right.
not time sensitive.
Right.
Right, absolutely.
It's just that it came up and we were moving on it.
I'm comfortable bringing it back on the 12th and we can discuss timelines at that point with the full board. If we were to do that, I would need a change in the motion and second.
I think I would just withdraw the original motion.
Okay,
We're gonna bring it back. We don't need a motion and a second for that. And then I think we just bring it back as is for a third reading.
so bring it back as is for a third reading, as is meaning at 1 year. And at that point, we can discuss changing it to 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the full board would determine.
Yeah, I think we just need to have the information available at the board meeting in order to have that discussion,
Okay.
right?
And And so are
What
you,
exactly? would
I
that
don't, that's what I'm
information
asked. Look, I'm not in education, so I don't know what I don't know. I'm just simply asking if the right way to categorize it is the class 1, class 2, class 3. If that's the right way to look at it, how does that then decide, go between a 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, 30 days? Like, I'm just asking to have more information because I'm not knowledgeable in this subject.
Just think of it as totally different, right? Because an email can be all of those.
right?
Yeah, so
And it
maybe what
can
I
be
want to
none
do
of
is
them.
ask you specific questions about specific examples to understand, does this fall within the 365 rather than do it at the dais?
And if we were to essentially table this item until March 12th, do you think that would give you the time that you
I'm not
need?
understanding what we're supposed to be bringing back other than the policy as written. I don't know what we're
So-
supposed to be providing to the board as its whole.
Okay, what it sounds like right now, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, sounds like we're prepared to recommend that it come back for a third reading as is on March 12th. That will A, give us time to discuss it as a full board at that meeting. And B, it will give the board members time to ask further questions, do further research so that we are more comfortable discussing the item. Is that correct?
Yep.
Mr.
So you're
Trunky?
not looking for a report or anything like that?
I don't think so. If I can get my questions answered before the next meeting and then that then shifts with
Mrs.
the rest
Grease,
of the.
we answer all questions that are
I'm just,
asked
it's
before
not
a
a
meeting,
personal
ma'am.
thing. It's just,
But,
if I can
ma'am,
get my questions answered
We
before the next
answer all
meeting.
questions from the weekend prior to the meeting.
That's
As
not-
early as this afternoon before the meeting. So if you have additional questions, we are happy to answer them and meet with you. In addition, I know you had some questions and I tried to meet with you on Friday via phone as well as yesterday via phone and you were unavailable. So I'm still happy to meet with you. But it's not that we haven't been responsive to the questions. And I think there is a distinction there for the public.
And I think my expectations as a board member of the employees is that when we're bringing forth a policy or program changes, that we have all the information available at the time of discussion so that we can actually vote. So I understand that people's lives get in the way, and me asking and me saying, if I can get my questions answered ahead of time before the next meeting was not a dig at the district not providing the information. It was merely about getting the information before the
Thank you
next
for
meeting,
clarifying.
so that there doesn't need to be additional reports or additional work that needs to be provided at the next meeting.
Thank you for clarifying.
So I'm hearing that Mr. Trunky has withdrawn his motion and it's the recommendation of the board that we bring this back for third reading as is on the March 12th agenda. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the remainder of the consent calendar, are there any other items that we would like removed?
Nope.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the rest of the consent calendar as is?
So moved. I do have a couple of questions.
Okay, did you want to remove something or?
no.
Okay, so Mr. Trunky has moved to approve the rest of the consent calendar. I will second. All righty, you have some questions?
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions, and I think they are for Mr. Heinlein. On the Saugus contract under business services for the support parking lot, there is a fairly significant increase to the architectural design phase of the project, which I understand from the explanation is due to requirements of the city of Santa Clarita. Is that right?
Yes, there's a couple new things we had to factor in, one being adding 4 EV parking spaces. But we have to run all the wires for those potential new chargers whenever they arrive. And then there was some back and forth regarding bike racks and trees in the parking lot, and things like that, but
So do we know yet what impact the cost of the project will change based on the changes in the design?
we did not get like a separate estimate for the additional work, but it will make the cost of the project increase.
And if it's I think 40 some $1,000 for the additional design services. The additional cost to the project is going to be significant.
It should be, yeah.
Okay. And then my other questions are on the amendments to the Sky Blue Mesa new classroom building. I think this is the final change order, which I think usually the final one encompasses
The-
resolution of everything.
This is the resolution of everything. This is the financial closeout for that project. So considering it took so long, we're happy to see a negative change order there.
Yeah, I was excited to see that too, but I guess I just wanted to make sure that the community understands. There were a lot of delays with this project, which I think there was a lot of cost involved with the delays. I think a bunch of it, the delays were supply chain issues because of the pandemic. I guess I just want to make sure that the resolution with the contractor was done in good faith and we're satisfied with that.
Absolutely. This was one of our pandemic buildings. We started during that time. It was had some difficulty with steel. Concrete was also really hard to get during that time, which caused further delays. And so it took a while. And it also took a while to get us and the contractor on the same page, but we're glad to see this chapter close.
Great. Those are my questions.
Okay. Any further questions on the consent calendar? All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, presentations. A, student enrollment projections. Mr. Heinlein.
Okay, I'm going to bring in David from Davis Demographics. He's going to share a presentation this evening regarding our enrollment report. There he is.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We got you.
All right. I had to reboot there for a second. So am I on right now, Nick?
Yes, you are on. And if you can just share your presentation, you have the ability.
Okay, give me one sec here. I will share my screen. Just one second. Sorry, caught me a little off guard there. I wasn't ready for the presentation part. Thought you were gonna run that. 1 second here. Oh. All right, let me move it over here. Let's see here. Sorry, just takes a little bit to open up there. All right, share my screen. And let me get on here. And let me run it. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, with the PowerPoint first slide. Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to go through our report with you again this year. We do this every year, and I'm going to walk you through. Hopefully, you had a chance to read through our report. Annually, we're contracted with your district to collect your data. The student data we collect is usually first week of October. That kind of gets the clock ticking on our work. We then visit active residential developments. I come out there and talk to the salespeople and also talk to developers of the future development. We also plug in different aspects I'll share with you here of the forecast, different factors that go in every year. We update those with the latest trends, and we roll these out over a 7-year period. So the first step, like I said, early October, we collect your student data from your district. We send back what we call a student verification form for the district to look over the information that they've shared with us to make sure it looks correct. It literally gets signed off, and that begins the process once we receive excellent, acceptable student information. We check for errors and whatnot as well. We go through the processes we call geocoding. We do everything we do using a mapping system called a Geographic Information System, or GIS. So this is an example of literally putting dots where students live. We cover usually a 4-year period. So we'll have 4 different sets of data, and we kind of look at trends happening over the most recent 4 years. Okay. This is sometimes an interesting diagram we could put in. This is not showing you the dots, but showing you the density of your students. I'm not calling them the white hot, but the yellow regions are the super dense areas of your district. And red is the next dense. And the areas that are kind of bluish, there's still a lot of students, but they're not, maybe as dense as the other areas. You can see the area out here with the new development starting out with the 5 points. It's starting to add up. But these are your established neighborhoods, usually with a lot of students in certain pockets. And of course, you got the mountainous areas where there really are hardly any students, but gives you a good overview of the distribution and density of the students in your district. We also break your district up into what we call study areas, or they're like neighborhoods. We have 219 of these areas, and they're number lettered, coded. These are the areas that make up your current zones. If you were to change boundaries, these could be the areas that would change colors, and the student counts would change as well. So if that ever comes up, you're needing those kind of services, all of our data is stored at the study area level. So there's 219 individual forecasts that we generate with our software tools. We'll show you more of the district-wide, which is all the areas added up together. Then we could look at individual zones and then individual study areas if need be. This document that we provide every year, we call an attendance matrix. And I don't know how easy you can see this on your screen, but if you read down each column, the numbers at the bottom, I think it's a light green color, those are your enrollment counts of each of your schools as of October 4th, 2023. I don't know if it's still called the CBEDS date or report date, snapshot date. So when you read down those columns, those are the numbers you're familiar with. Where we come in with the GIS, we overlay your zones, your boundaries. So when you read across the rows, like for Bridgeport, it starts with 774. That's how many, as of that date, in this case, K6 students lived in Bridgeport's boundary. When you look at the darkened cell, the 674 for Bridgeport, that's how many students attended Bridgeport from its own area. So when you read down each column, those cells tell you the students that are transferring into each school. And likewise, if you look across the Bridgeport row, those are the number of students transferring out to another school within your district. You can see the open enrollment patterns within your district. You can see at the bottom, Bridgeport had 833 students enrolled. One of your largest schools, I think Mountain View was one of the highest, of course, and West Creek Academy. But you could also see, I think you mentioned you have special program or programs at Highlands. You now can see the transfer of those students coming in from each area, probably attending that special program. So you really get a good glimpse of kind of the trends going on in your district. You could see certain schools that maybe have a very small number of students in their boundary, but might have a large attendance because transfers coming in. So you can get to see residentially how many are in each zone versus how many are attending each school. This is a supplement of the matrix I just showed you. It kind of is a summary table. If you wanted to quickly get for Bridgeport, the number of students that reside versus enrolled, the number that transfer in, the number that transfer out, and the number of out of district or inter district transfers coming into that school. This is just a quick kind of cheat sheet for what I just showed you, if you want to really get a quick glimpse of your enrollment patterns. So this is the model that we use for our forecasting. Essentially 3 columns here, the birth factors on the left. That's where we look at kindergarten and in nowadays TK as well. Look at some of the historical trends going back 4 or 5 years, roll those into the forecast to estimate those grades. The mobility factors in the middle, and I'll be showing you examples of these, is that where I showed you those 4 years of student dots. What's happening in your established and built out areas of your district? Ones that have had no development at all in a long while or never had it. What's happening in those established neighborhoods? How do the students matriculate, if you will, from grade to grade? Are you gaining kids? Are you losing kids? We'll talk about that in a moment. And at the end is the new development. We phase out the development annually each year for 7 years by housing type. And then we apply student yield factors to that to estimate how many students are coming in from those new housing units each year. Those all get folded into our student forecasts. Let's kind of look at these one by one. So these are the historical live birth counts that we use and look at trends to estimate, future kindergarten and in some cases TK classes. We look for trends. We're trying to see if the births, if you look down the total column, you can kind of see where you were maybe 4 or 5 years ago. 2013's births translates to 2018 kindergartners and so on. So our base year, this last October of 23, more or less they were born in 2018. So we can look at the totals in your zip codes, which is how the data is collected at the statewide level, collectively see where the trends are. And interestingly, I could say nicely in your district, I can't say this about a lot of districts, is that it could be an uptick here in a few years just by the number of students that were born 5 years previously that will be entering into your district. Not necessarily from development, just simply being born in your area. So we'll share this a little bit more, but we'll show you how these get factored in into the overall forecast in a moment. Another really important factor are the mobility factors. This is what I mentioned. We look at 4 years of data and we pair them up. So we'll look at it by each of your, I think it's thinking 14, 15 zones of your elementary schools. What's happening in those zones? And I have a district-wide average at the bottom. It's very common, first of all, to get green as anything above a 1.0. And if you see a 1.13 like Cedar Creek, that's essentially a 13% increase you get from kindergarten to first grade each year that we sampled from 2020, let's say kindergartners, 2021 first graders. We do the same thing for 21 to 22 and 22 to 23. So we get a 3-year average, and these are the results. And the good news for your district, I've been saying this for a number of years, is you see a lot of green. What does that mean? In a nutshell, these are mostly the resales. These are not new development. These are established neighborhoods in your district. People are moving in with children into your district. That's extremely important and to show also why we see growth, not just from new housing, but you get sometimes you'll get more turnover, more increases or decreases, depending, just based on housing resales. So these are very good numbers, and you have very strong, what I'll call retention rates. But even the red numbers are very low percentages. A 99 means you lose only 1%. It's really not that big. And you're all through your grades on average, for the most part, you're gaining them K to 1. Why is that happening? Kindergarten is not a required grade. So parents sometimes hold back their children, and then you get them coming in first grade. This is happening all over, not only California, but a lot of the United States as well. And then you can kind of see with the numbers, the averages, you're gaining kids net. It's a little drop maybe from 3 to 4, not sure why. And then again, you're gaining in other grades. Certain areas you gain more than others, some you gain less. So we apply these rates to these zones. We're not doing a district-wide rate. We're looking at each of these. And like I said, these are very impressive to me as a demographer. I see this every year for your district. So people want to go to your schools. They're moving in, they're bringing kids. Usually I don't see numbers this high. Usually I'll see it at the higher levels, like middle school or high school, because again, we all know how the home values and rents are in your community. It's not cheap. And usually when you see their home values go up and the rents go up, you see less children, if you will, coming in, or people coming into your community with more established couples, older couples that have older children, let's say. So to see a lot of this coming in at these age groups is very, very positive for you. So now let's also look at the third other part and this is the development. So we track the development. I went and visited all the sites myself with some of my staff, went across, we did the whole valley for that matter. We talked to the salespeople, get the trends of what's going on. Obviously, you've got the area split out there in Mission Village, but there's other parts of your district with some growth and potential growth. So those are the total units we're looking at, about 4,900 units over a 7-year period. Now, keep in mind, a good number of those haven't even broken ground yet. There's not even dirt moving. So it's somewhat speculation. And this would be the high end, if you will, of the forecast. If all these come true, and it's a possibility they can, then I'm going to share with you in the forecast what could happen. But most of the development is centered in 4 of your schools' attendance areas. The one that has the majority of it is Bridgeport, not a real surprise. But keep in mind too how big the enrollment is at Bridgeport. So now imagine all this development coming over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. That's something that the board's going to need to, decide how you're going to address that. So these other tables, again, not sure how clearly you can see these numbers, but this is in the report as well. We roll these units out every year for 7 years in each by housing types: single family, detached, typical single family homes, MFAs or multifamily attached like condos or townhomes, and then apartment, those are individually owned. Apartments are the rentals. So as best we gather the information each year, you see the information at the bottom of the developers, of the project names. Some of them, again, haven't even broken ground yet, but these are our estimates. Like I said, I can't say it's definitely going to happen. You've had numbers in the past much larger than this, so it's not unprecedented. It's just been a little while since maybe you've seen some numbers quite like this, but you've had them in the thousands in the past. So it could happen. And let's see kind of what these will translate into. These are the yield factors that we updated for your district last year. We do this every other year. So if we're going to update this next year's report, we'll have a new refresh on this. But what these yield factors or generation rates mean is you see, we take a sampling of your district of homes built over a 5-6 year period. We know what year they're built. We get the parcel data from the county. We have your student data. So it's a simple number of taking the number of students in a certain number of units. 706 divided by 1805 is 391. So that's a good number of units built in the last 5 years of single family. And what this means is that for every 100 single family homes, it's going to generate 39 K6 students. And if you want to look at the multifamily like condos, this is actually a pretty high rate that I've seen, usually a little bit lower, but for every 100 condominiums, you're going to generate 32, 33 elementary students. And apartments, it's much lower. These tend to be more of the luxury type apartments, and they're just not generating a lot. But there's 557 in our sample size. So these will be updated every other year. And typically these have been dropping, okay? Because again, like I said, as the housing costs go up, there's usually a correlation to less kids or less younger kids, if you will. So these are what we're locking in for a 2-year period, and we'll see what shows up next year if we do an update. So then we fold all that information into all those study areas I told you about. They all add up into this district-wide resident forecast. So what this is, The blue box you see, all those cells, all those students are impacted from new housing. Those new housing units I showed you, they get folded into those grades. We ramp up your TK as well. We have our own logarithms and formulas to estimate the ramp up over the next 2 years of the TK. But we also can see diagonally, that squiggly red line, that's where the mobility factors come in. As I told you, from K to 1, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3. So it's fascinating if you look at, let's say, your 1,021 kindergartners residentially, next year they'll become almost 100 more kids because of that jump I told you about. Then that becomes 180, 1189, 1248, 1270. Again, could be new units, could be new housing, new turnover of existing housing units with the mobility. But you can see that turns into a grade of 1372. So all these grades are increasing as they move on through. Therefore, looking at our numbers, we're estimating about a 13% increase or a net growth of about 1186 if all that development happens. Okay. It's not going to all happen at once, but you can kind of see annually the growth we're talking about. Some years a little more than others. You also can see that your largest grade is your 6th grade. Your smallest grade is your kindergarten, excluding TK for now. And that is as the larger grades graduate out, you're still seeing that trend continue, but you're just getting more kids coming in each year for all those grades. But if you had no development, this probably bodes that you would probably be stable or declining, to be honest, as these grades graduate through. So the development and the return, the resales in your homes, that's what's keeping the growth happening in your district. So this is just a graphical look of the TK6 of your district, where you were the last 2 or 3 years, where you are now, or at least October. And these are the future Octobers we're looking at each year, annual growth each year. And this is a geographic way of kind of looking in terms of those study areas I told you about. What's the net change over a 7-year period? Red indicates a lot of growth. Not a surprise, it's happening out here with all the potential and active development out here around Magic Mountain area. And you've got other areas. So if it's orange, there's still some growth. Gray means no growth, or it's static. And then you'll see the greenish areas, those are kind of declining areas in your district. So you've got a good mix of aging older areas that might be declining. And there's certain portions of your district that's definitely true. Mostly, of course, on the west side is where you'll see most of the development, most of the growth. This is almost the last slide. I know it's a lot of numbers and information to take in, but I'm going to kind of try to summarize this for you, but it's a lot of good information. Right off the bat, Bridgeport, no surprise, and Rio Vista are the 2 zones, 2 areas we're looking at the most potential growth. A net growth of 8, almost doubling, more than doubling, I should say, in Bridgeport because of all that development. And then over here, Rio Vista going up potentially another 300 students. The rest of your schools are all plus minus, a certain number. Some are declining. These are going to be in 2030, our estimated number of students in these areas. I know Santa Clarita area is being dissolved into both Helmers and then Foster. And that you could already tell is obviously your smallest school, your smallest number of residents. But even that little area is going to continue to decline more. So that's probably a smart decision you were doing. But again, yellow represents the largest resident count for each school. So there's a good number of these, about half your zones, they're going to be reaching their highest number 6, 7 years from now, maybe even beyond. But the other 6 or 7 schools, they're either at their already, I don't want to call it a peak, but the highest number, and they're going to reach some of them a peak in the next couple of years. So this is that kind of tale of 2 halves. You've got, when you look at it collectively, you got some real declines potentially happening in some areas, some more than others, but you have some major growth that's kind of masking it a little bit. But you can see really for the most part, if you look at it in terms of a classroom size or two, most of your schools are going to be up or down a classroom or so, which is not really much of a change. And some of your schools, you just got to keep an eye on maybe if they do get residentially a very low number count, you just might want to keep a little eye on those trends and how you're going to handle Bridgeport. So I kind of just summarized what my last slide is. As I told you, you're going to have almost 1,200 potential growth if all these new units come into play, 13% increase. These are the unit breakdowns that we're thinking could happen in your district. Most of it in Bridgeport, something that you're going to have to address if that does happen. And also, again, some of your schools, though, are getting below a certain number, and you'll have to decide, do you maybe make some boundary adjustments to better balance those? Instead of repurposing schools, maybe you just make a few little boundary tweaks to be able to balance your schools to their capacities, because demographics do shift. And that's it. And I'll take any questions you might have, if you're still awake.
Absolutely. It was actually quite interesting. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Ms. Grease, any questions, comments?
Yeah, slide 12, where it states all of the project names of, right,
Yeah.
the builders that have not quite built yet. How
Right.
much of that is just hypothetical and
Sure.
won't come to fruition versus these are actually happening? Because a lot of the metrics are built on something that hasn't been confirmed yet. So just trying to understand like what the delta
You're
is.
right. It's, I've been working for all the districts out there for 30 years. And, I remember way back 20 plus years ago when it was called Newhall Ranch, that was in my forecast 20 years ago for all your districts. And then lo and behold, 15, 20 years later, it finally happens. So you're absolutely right. And I said it up front. Some of this is speculation. Some of this you could be looked upon, and I don't really like to use this phrase, but I think you'll know what I mean by worst case scenario, meaning this could happen, this is speculation, and it's good news because obviously if it happens, you're going to have a lot of students. But that's why you need to check this each year as these bigger projects that are out there being controlled by the developers. Sometimes they take a left turn and go, you know what? We were planning on building this project starting 27. We're going to push it out to 2033. This is based on best available information. I mean, I don't like to use the word speculation, but I call it best guess estimates based on information I have. If you want to consider these high, if you will, because I don't think you'll get more units than I'm showing, but you could get less. The thing about your district is they are in one, more or less, I think about 75, 80% of the developments in one region. So it's a little easier to track it and kind of see what's happening each year. And this is more just to give you a heads up warning what could happen. I'm not here to tell you this is set in stone, but it's a warning, if you will.
So to make large school boundary changes or additions of new schools or new classrooms, say 2 to 3 years out, probably wouldn't be something that you'd recommend considering we don't know what's going to happen with these developments. I'm just saying like.
No, you actually, let me give you a way to look at this. I'm not here to tell you need to build another school or when to build it at this point. It's a possibility. It's something you probably have in your back pocket or could think about. Maybe there's triggers. I'm not sure about that. But there's other things going on in your district as well. It's not just all that concentration of growth. There might be a way to, and again, we could help with this, do scenarios, an exercise, if you will, where we can shift around some of the boundaries, like I said, to right balance your schools to their capacities. And maybe you could accommodate a lot of this with your already existing schools. Maybe that's a little exercise we do just to see if that's possible, because all this is about geography. It's about where your schools are located, where the students live, where they will be living. So like I said, I don't have it in front of me, but we can do with Nick like a little exercise to see how some of the schools that are declining, doing kind of a domino effect to some of those study areas, could help, kind of move it over and see if you can accommodate some of the growth. It also essentially also comes down to how far you want those students to have to go drive or walk to get to a school. So even though you might have a lot of room on the east side of your district, it's still, think about it, even Bridgeport's going to be a little farther for some of these students to go. So you've got a lot of issues to decide on what your policies are, but you might be able to make some internal adjustments to help you get through in the meantime.
Yeah, and then on slide 11 where it shows the map, and then I'm assuming the color codes just correspond to page 12 of the different developments. Is
Mhm.
it a done deal that we have all of these development within the SUSD boundary versus Newhall or Castaic? Or when does that get determined?
Well, the maps are there. Mr. Heinlein's were aware of all this as well. When they trigger, when they happen, is speculation. They are within your district. There's a lot of units, I think you might know, that is kind of shared, if you will, with that line going down between your district and Newhall. But there's a lot of projects planned around Magic Mountain that are 100% in your district.
Okay.
It's just that we don't know really when it's going to get moved. That's why you really want to be on good terms with the developers, have at least annual meetings. And if they could shed some light, I've had some with the developers, like I said, one district, they'll move it out 5 years. It was in the forecast, now it's out. But they could probably just as well change it and say, now we're going to move this project sooner in the timeline. You just got to be kind of on top of things like that.
So Mr. Heinlein, do we have conversations with the developers, like he's saying?
Depends on which one. If we're talking about the folks by Magic Mountain, yeah.
I guess all of them that are in the district and then the ones that have a shared line.
We do not talk to every single developer, but the big ones we do. We do have a conversation with them. They also typically have to come in and pay their developer fees as well. So we do have relationships with them if they will impact our schools, right? Because like, for instance, Tesoro, we did a lot of work with them based on this new phasing because the district has older agreements with multiple development firms that have owned that project over the years to make sure that they mitigate the development that they're working on now.
Mhm. So what's the district doing with this information right now, seeing how a lot of it's hypothetical?
We will factor some of these numbers into our enrollment projections into the future
Mhm.
and use those for the next couple of years. And then look at places like David was mentioning, boundary tweaks. Like that's something that we definitely will need to look at in a few years.
And do you have visibility into the unduplicated count as well? Because I'm sure that would help in understanding if there's an increase in the unduplicated population. Right?
At a school site?
Yeah, or just in the boundaries, right? Because that affects funding and programs and.
Yeah, we have not looked at like what if we change a boundary, what would the unduplicated count look like? But we definitely would do that. We send that information to them as well.
But as a district, the unduplicated count has been.
Right, yeah, I'm just wondering, out of the 13% increase, would 500 of those 1,100 students over the next 6-7 years be unduplicated? And then how do you plan for the increase in unduplicated students for programs or services or stuff like that?
I don't think you would until the year that they're here. Right, so just over the past year, I don't know, since before the pandemic, we've seen our unduplicated count rise a lot. Right, we're at 20.
Sorry,
But-
we've also seen a difference in how the funding's allocated, meaning wherever they are, we're offering those services, not just at Title I sites, but every site. So that's a change in the law that's happened in the last few years. So we can help them regardless of where they are.
Okay, Mr. Trunky.
I don't have a whole lot of questions. There are a couple of developments that I know I've seen in your chart in the past that don't appear this year. One of them being Whitaker Burmite, but I think we kind of know what the issue is there. I think
Yeah,
their
Yeah,
their
they're-
cleanup efforts are a little bit behind, and I think their original plan has expired, and they have to kind of start all over again.
yeah, and that affects not just your district, but Hart, and I think even Newhall as well. That's been on the books, as you know, for so long. Yeah, I've chosen to remove that for now. I mean, there's obvious reasons why they're not building on that. The reason why I would have that removed versus having some of these other projects moving forward, is mostly because these projects, the larger ones, are by, I guess 5 Points would be the builder, and they're just moving along. Now that the projects have started in Mission Village, they just keep moving, and as those get built, they keep continuing. So I kind of have an overall vision of, with some of their units, on where I think those new units will come in, and that's where I have them in your forecast. There's just so much uncertainty with the cleanup and when those start. And yes, you're right, potentially there's more units there, but I just didn't feel as comfortable putting those units in there, and so they've been removed. It's been to be honest with you, it's been a few years, I think, since I've had them in the reports, but I definitely did at one point.
And then the other one is the Bouquet Canyon development.
Yeah, it's just there. I think that's the one you're talking about. It's been on the books. It was kind of hot and heavy about 4 or 5 years ago, and talking to the county planners is just kind of just sitting there, and no needle's been moved. So there are some times where I keep units or developments in here for a number of years, and if 4 or 5 years go by and I just hear nothing, I just feel more comfortable removing it. I usually, when I hear of a new project, I'll add it in, and then I just keep my ear to the ground, and well, obviously we could do a lot of Googling, we contact planners. If there's nothing new coming out, then I do remove it.
Okay, and then I guess the last question I have would be for Mr. Heinlein. Obviously with all of this Entrada development, the long-range plan from years ago was to build a school site in Entrada, but I think more recent forecasts have suggested there's just not enough student generation for a new site. And that would suggest that we would have to move students around between Bridgeport
and
Helmers and possibly West Creek, as West Creek starts to decrease.
Correct.
Okay. So that's still the plan at this point. Okay. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. Just calling out a couple of things moving backwards. So we've got these new developments on the horizon. It looks like our school district is doing a really good job with student retention. So I wanted to call that out. Thank you very much. And then, hey, birth rate's going up. 91350, way to go. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about these boundary tweaks, right? And I get that. But not having been around for any of those tweaks in the past myself, what's involved in that effort by staff and then impact on families?
We would have a contract with Davis Demographics to go over those 219 study areas and think about ways where we can shift those little areas to another school site and then run the projections that way. That would be the process. And then after we have multiple scenarios, then I think is when we would start the process of actually potentially changing the boundaries.
Okay.
And bringing it to the board for reports and questions.
And that type of
Appeal
thing would
process.
typically be phased, where we're not saying to a student, we know you went to Bridgeport kindergarten through 4th grade, but guess what? Now you're, at a different school. Or is that sometimes the case that we need to do that?
I mean, this is me speaking now.
Yeah.
I don't think we would do that at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
it would be a slow, gradual
Right.
move. If you're new, you may not have the option to go to, if Bridgeport's your school, you may have to go to Helmers, but if you've been there forever, I don't think we'd want to move.
Yeah, we try not to disrupt the families if we can absolutely stop it. But that's one of the reasons why with the closing of Santa Clarita, you aren't seeing us bring to you school boundary changes. Because we also know that Foster's in the middle of building a building, and that will greatly be impacted the enrollment. So we're just moving new students in that area to Helmers for right now. And then eventually in the next 2 years, we'll bring some boundary discussions forward.
Slow, methodical, and thoughtful. Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a good evening. If you have any other questions, please refer them to Nick and I'll answer them if other board members had questions as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely will do. Thank you very much.
Take care.
All righty. Thank you. And item B, engaging our parents and family partners. Mr. Clement.
Okay, as our folks wander up this way, Mr. Heinlein, all your numbers are fascinating, but let's get back to some fun programs and some parents.
Hey.
I will turn it over to Dr. Proctor, but as they come up, this is also, I believe, maybe one of the first glimpses of our parent liaison team that's been newly implemented in the last year or two plus. And we've got some parent guests with them, so I will turn it over to them.
Okay, thank you. We're very excited to share some great work that's going on with the help of a lot of people, and we have some representatives up here. So I'm going to allow each person to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Good evening. My name is Angela Jolly, and I'm one of the family and community liaisons.
Hi, good evening. My name is Adriana Aguirre, and I'm another one of the family and community liaisons.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jie Zhang, and I'm also one of the family and community liaisons.
Thank you. We also have two parents here who are joining us from Rio Vista, Mr. and Mrs. Villanueva, and they are going to speak in a little bit when we get to their slide. And then we also have Eden Chavez, who is going to be interpreting for us. And then we also have some guest speakers in our presentation. Okay, let's get started. So what we want to talk about today is how we are really addressing goal number 1 in our LCAP, which is really engaging our families and school community. And these people are representatives who've done that so authentically. And there's a lot of behind the scenes things that have happened. And we wanted to bring those stories to you so you can really see the work that's been going on to not only engage our families by providing information, but really building these networks and communities within our schools, within the district, to really provide opportunities for our families to have a voice and to have that back and forth dialogue to ensure that all of our students are learning at high levels and contribute to our school community. So we're going to share those stories with you today on really how we're addressing goal number 1. Next slide. Thank you. So liaison, it's a term that I always have to remember how to spell. There's 2 I's in it. But essentially, liaison is communication or cooperation, which facilitates a close working relationship between people and organizations. And our family and community liaisons, you're going to hear, do exactly that and in such a beautiful, artful way. And so I'm excited for them to share the work that they're doing regarding this. Next slide, please. So this all started because of feedback, right? In doing a needs assessment and determining, what were some of the barriers some of our families were facing? How were we working with the community and listening to find out, what were their needs? What were they wanting? And so this year we conducted a needs assessment. We sent out a parent square with several questions regarding topics they'd like to hear about, what their needs were, and how we could support them from the school site and the district level. And out of that, we found that a lot of our families were wanting more information to empower them on the school system, on things like iReady and Clever, how to use the resources we have available, but also just really learning about how they can help their children both within the school and at home and really develop that partnership. And so what we're going to be sharing tonight are some of the results of the needs assessment. And then, of course, as you hear from families, you find out other additional needs and learn more. And so it's kind of this trickle effect that's been happening. And so we're going to be sharing that with you tonight. Okay, and I'm going to hand it over.
Okay, Project to Inspire Leaders. Project to Inspire is a parent engagement program that supports parent leadership. Parents learn about how the school system works, from state testing to school committees and volunteering. There were 2 online groups, one that met weekly on Wednesdays and the other on Fridays. Some of the feedback that we have received is that parents feel empowered and knowledgeable going into school meetings and also feel more confident about volunteering. Our Spanish group was called Proyecto Inspiro. It is made up of Rio Vista and Cedar Creek families. They have completed 2 levels of Project to Inspire and are a part of the expert level group. This is a more intensive program where parents are practicing their leadership skills. The program encourages them to present at a school or district meeting. After weeks of preparation, parents from Proyecto Inspiro gave a presentation on parent involvement at one of the DLAC meetings. All in all, we have about 15 families complete the program. Parents in our Project to Inspire and Proyecto Inspiro group are involved in their schools. They are class volunteers, they serve on their ELAC committees, and they participate in school site council and PTA. They also attend Coffee with the Principal and Bilingual Storytime. Now we will hear from Hector and Maria Villanueva, who participate in Proyecto Inspiro. They are also ELAC committee members at their school and will be presenting this month at GABES conference.
Gracias. Buenas noches a todos y muchas gracias a la mesa directiva que está aquí con nosotros y muchas gracias aquí a todos los que ha hecho posible todo este programa para nosotros como padres de familia. Pues antes de hablar, yo quería decir sí, y la razón por que yo sí quise estar aquí es porque nosotros somos un testimonio de lo que ha hecho el proyecto Inspire en nuestra casa, en nuestra familia, con nuestros hijos. Nosotros tenemos 3 hijos, los 3 hijos han cursado y han pasado por Río Vista, entonces hemos tenido la fortuna de estar ya más de 8 años o 10 años en Río Vista trabajando, pero cuando nos dieron este proyecto, nosotros dijimos, ok, está bien, lo vamos a tomar. Nosotros estábamos pasando en un momento muy difícil con nuestra hija porque tenía unas calificaciones muy bajas, pero gracias a Proyecto Inspire nos ayudó a nosotros como padres a entender a nuestra hija y apoyarla. Y ahora con este trabajo que nosotros hemos hecho con ellos y con nosotros junto con el Proyecto Inspire, nuestra hija se va a graduar ya muy pronto de asistente médico. Entonces, para nosotros el proyecto Inspire nos ha ayudado muchísimo desde el primer nivel, que fue uno de los más importantes, ya que como padres nos ayudó a mejorar nuestros hábitos dentro de nuestra familia y apoyar a nuestros hijos, entender las necesidades de cada uno de ellos y también apoyarlos en sus fortalezas y habilidades. El primer nivel nos ayudó a encontrar o recordar todas las dificultades que tuvimos desde niños, al igual que nuestros hijos ahora, las carencias, las necesidades, pero también la dicha y la fortuna que tuvimos todos estos en ayuda, a ponernos en los zapatos de los niños y jóvenes, ya que desde ahí tenemos que comenzar para ser unos padres que apoyen a sus hijos y no pensar que el trabajo de la educación solo es responsabilidad de los maestros o de las instituciones educativas. Es como un romper un tabú acerca de la educación.
Para para los siguientes niveles son extremadamente importantes porque viene toda la información acerca de las leyes de educación, desde la más básica hasta el doctorado, para nuestros hijos. Y esto nos ayuda a nosotros a apoyar a nuestros jóvenes y orientarlos y entender todos los diferentes programas educativos que nuestro distrito tiene para cada uno de sus estudiantes. Para nosotros, el poner en práctica todo lo aprendido es reto de todos los días, porque nuestros hijos van creciendo y comenzando nuevas etapas de sus vidas y junto con ellos nuevas experiencias positivas y negativas. Cuando viene la experiencia negativa, enseñamos a tomar y a convertir en positivas para ellos y lo más importante, aprender de ellos y a construir escalones para sus futuros y aceptar todo tipo, todos importan, no, todo no importado, no importa la raza, el color, género ni condición social. Ya para nosotros estos son uno de los valores muy importantes dentro de nuestro hogar. Para nosotros, el fortalecer a nuestros hijos en los valores morales y en la educación, en nuestro punto de vista, es la mejor herencia que podemos dejar a nuestros hijos y al mismo tiempo estamos formando seres humanos que valoren la vida y respeten la humanidad. Gracias. Gracias a la mesa directiva y a todos los que hicieron posible y en especialmente quiero agradecer a la doctora directora de Revista, a la señora Nubia. Muchísimas gracias por su apoyo.
Okay. Well, in their words, good evening. Thank you for.
What's going on out there, Nick?
Thank you for inviting us to address the Saugus School Board. We're grateful for all of your support. We have children at Rio Vista, and this program is helping us to allow us to be closer to our children and help them grow and be successful, especially our daughter, who had issues with some curriculum. And so it's helping us as parents to help her be a better student. And we are very grateful to you for these programs. So they said that the CABE sponsored project helped them tremendously, even from the very first level, which was one of the most important ones for us parents. It helped us to improve our habits within our family and support our children. It also helped us to understand of each of them and to support them in their strengths and abilities. The first level helped us to find and remember all the difficulties that we had as children that are the same as our children's difficulties, as well as our shortcomings and needs. It also helped us remember the joy and fortune that we had. This helped us to put ourselves in the shoes of our children and our youth. This is where we have to start in order to be parents who support their children and not to think that the work of education is only the responsibility of teachers or the educational institutions. It's like breaking a taboo about education. The levels that followed were extremely important because we learned all about information and education laws for our children. This helped us to better support our youth and guide them and to understand all the different educational programs that our district has for each of its students. For us, putting into practice everything we learned is a daily challenge because our children are growing and starting new stages of their lives. And along with them come new positive and negative experiences. When it comes to negative experiences, we teach our children to make them positive, and most importantly, we teach them to take steps toward their future. We also teach them to accept everyone, no matter the race, color, gender, or social status, because for us, these are very important values within our home. We believe the best inheritance we can leave our children is to strengthen them with morals, values, and education. And at the same time, we are shaping human beings. We're shaping human beings who value life and respect humanity. Again, very thankful for the opportunity to be here to speak to you. And thank you, a big thank you to Dr. Navarez Nubia from the Rio Vista principal to be so supportive and helpful to them and their community.
Bilingual story time. Books were read as a large group with parents and students all participating, and we also had grandparents and many fathers participated as well. This program was started with Spanish and English bilingual books, but has grown to a variety of languages such as Korean and Punjabi. Some of the positive feedback from the program was that the families loved it. It was also well attended for a 3-week series. One parent at Highlands reported that it encourages their students to participate in reading during class. Even the teacher reported that she noticed a difference in that student. Bilingual story time was popular at Highlands, that a parent was working with Mrs. Bender on continuing the program. This program has encouraged parents to consider bringing the program to their school sites, and we will continue to share about it during school meetings and district programs. In addition, we also want to grow our library and have more languages available to engage all of our families. I brought some Korean and Punjabi books for you, for you to take a look, and we also have a display with the bilingual books that we offer. I would also like to share a video from Mrs. Damaris Montalvo Mead, who is one of the Highlands parents whose student is part of dual immersion program. She has also participated in Project to Inspire and Bilingual Storytime.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about another program that we have, which is Golden Oak Adult ESL classes. So as mentioned before, Karen mentioned that we did do a survey in the beginning of the school year and throughout the school year with, you know, the bilingual story time and the Project to Inspire. And this class was brought to meet the demand of our families for a local English class. We did run a poll at Rio Vista and Cedar Creek to measure the interest and to see what that was. It was pretty split between parents wanting morning and evening classes. And as Golden Oak was already having current evening classes, we made it only made sense for us to bring and offer morning classes for our families, since that was to accommodate to their preferred time. Currently, we do have about 50 parents or families who are being served with this program. Classes are being held at Rio Vista and at Highlands Elementary School in the mornings. And the beauty about these classes is that they're multi-level. So we welcome anyone from beginners levels to intermediate to even advanced levels, and anyone can join. At this moment, we do also have a continuous interest in our schools that we see. This class also builds community. So we've seen many friendships build and grow with the Rio Vista class, since that was the very first one. Despite them having different backgrounds and native languages, they still manage to make friendships and connections from schools all around our district. And then another fun thing is being able to see them even share like cultural snacks and stories. That has been very amazing. This class also connects the parents with other classes from from Golden Oak that they provide. Currently, we have several parents who are participating in second classes with Golden Oak, such as career paths and citizenship classes and much more. The biggest successes we have seen we have been hearing is about personal growth of some of our students, the adults that have gone through, that they have gone through. We have had a father who stated that he started these English classes so he can better grow his business and expand to more customers and being able to communicate with them. A mother who has an EL student in one of our schools, and she wanted to set an example for all of her children that learning English can be possible to be proficient in English, So she wanted to set that example for her children. And another parent who needed the confidence that she received within these adult classes to be able to apply for and accept a position with the Castaic district. So these classes have helped her, feel confident with that. Next, I do want to share a video with a parent who joined one of our adult ESL classes. She is a parent, Saba Rehan, who has a few words to share for you guys, but I did want to let you guys know that she has participated in our first adult ESL class, and she is now furthering her career with Golden Oak School.
And now I will speak about our family workshops. These are in-person family workshops, and they were an opportunity for our families from Project to Inspire to connect in person. Our workshops were tied to what they were learning about during their virtual meetings. For example, our first workshop was directed towards TK to second grade families, and they had a lot of questions about supporting their students at home. So they received a presentation from our ELA and math TOSAs. Families were also given a light dinner, and students participated in enrichment activities while their parents attended workshops. After our first workshop, a parent emailed the day after to share that she really enjoyed the workshop and was happy that the district was offering this program. Another parent who couldn't make all the virtual meetings requested to please be invited to the in-person workshop because she found the topic valuable. And at our final workshop, when I introduced the parents and the staff, the parents were cheering and they expressed gratitude for the final workshop.
Another program or parent workshop that we have brought is School Smarts. School Smarts is a program that was created by the California PTA to inform and encourage parents to be active participants in their students' schools. We as the liaison team did get trained by California PTA to be able to facilitate these workshops for our families. The first one is being held at Bridgeport Elementary School, and we did invite the nearby schools so that we can get those families as well. We meet every Friday for coffee at Bridgeport, and we also have a core of 15 parents who are continuously coming every Friday to meet with us to get these meetings. One component of this program is that it was tailored to be flexible to fit the demand and the needs of the families. And to keep the parents engaged, we also do invite presenters and guest speakers to come speak on specific topics of that week. Some of the guest speakers may include the social workers from our district now and the TOSAs. The feedback has been very positive and there has been a lot of questions asked. We do see a lot of engagement of the parents throughout these meetings. Parents who are unable to attend even ask or request for that material of that week so that they can keep along for the following weeks. I do also want to mention that we have even parents who are taking turns being able to adjust their work schedule so that they can make sure that they're getting this information and that one of them is being present at one point in time. And the mom stated that these seminars are so helpful with her daughter. In both of these programs, both of these in-person groups, sorry, we have observed that parents are connecting more and more with their school communities and realizing that their voice truly do matter and that they can make a difference in their schools, student schools. Next, we do want to share a video from Mrs. Angie Shie, who is a mom of 4 boys. She is very involved in her school, and not only has she participated in our Project to Inspire online, but she has also participated in person with us. And she is also a room parent for her elementary school. She served previously in her PTA, and she is an active parent now for the Hart District as well.
So for parent engagement impact, as families get to know us, they begin to open up to us about issues or challenges that they are experiencing. Sometimes we connect them with resources or school staff. Oftentimes we help them directly. For example, after attending an LPAC workshop, a parent needed assistance with technology so that she could help her student at home. I provided her family with a Chromebook and helped them get logged onto Clever. I also helped the parent with access to the LPAC website and practice tests. Another example is when I helped connect a father and his graduating 6th grader to Hart's Summer Impact Program, a program where students receive math and reading support. And there are many more examples like these.
And as a result of our specific community meeting, more and more parents are attending school meetings and are involved as one of the members for the school's ELAC committee. One parent was also interested in having a special needs meeting, and I helped connect her with the site administration, and with the partnership of PTA, the parent organized their first special needs committee.
In addition to the impact, it not only affects our district families, but it also affects our community or impacts our community. For example, like we saw earlier, Mrs. Rehan, who shared that due to her experience and her feeling comfortable with the teacher that was in that Golden Oak class, she also inspired her friend to further her career with Golden Oak, and she is now taking computer science classes. Another example is that in our adult ESL class, we have seen not only parents and caregivers join, we have also seen a lot of grandparents join, which is honestly very beautiful to see because they want to learn or better perfect their English to be able to communicate with their grandchildren and the staff, since a lot of time they're the ones picking up. We also have a continuous interest from other community members to join these adult ESL classes, even those who are no longer part of our district. I do want to finish off by saying that everything we have done is truly rewarding in being able to see the families and the students grow, as we have gotten a chance to get closer with them and help in any way within these workshops and programs that we have provided. We have seen a significant shift in parent engagement since last year, and we are excited to see for what's to come. Thank you so much.
Just to quickly cap off, I mean, these ladies, and then we also have 2 additional liaisons who can be here tonight, but they really have done such a fabulous job. Again, not only of presenting information to our families, but really engaging them, developing these strong relationships, but also facilitating relationships amongst the community, amongst themselves, to just really build a stronger foundation for our district. So I appreciate them so much. I know we all do. And so we hope you enjoyed the little snapshot. There's lots under the surface that they're all doing, but we're open to questions.
Just before you start, I also wanted to thank them for all their hard work. In my previous district, this was something that was very important to me in my ELAC at my site. But that district was 50,000 students and we're about 10,000. And our DLAC here has grown larger than that one was in a large district like that. And that's mainly because of the connections and the support that these guys are providing. That safe environment, getting them to come and get involved is awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, Ms. Greaves?
No questions, just appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Trunky.
2 things really jumped out at me. First is on the needs assessment, 100% of parents found the programs beneficial, which I think is an amazing statistic. And even better, we had actual parents, Senor y Senora Villanueva, and the other ones that were in the presentation talk about how these programs have really helped them. But the flip side of that is the other finding that 23% of parents had attended a workshop or a family engagement event. And my question is, how do we get that 23% number to 50% or 75%?
That's a great question. So that was in the beginning of the year. And so we're kind of finding the right recipe that really, gets our families out. You guys can jump into, but something we found is if we're able to provide childcare, if we're able, a lot of times families, there's never the perfect time. If we offer it in the morning, if we offer it in the evening. So we do try to do both. But also by providing a light dinner and opportunities for, students to get an enrichment and activity while the parents are learning has been really beneficial. And also we do series. So like a 3-week series tends to, we see repeat people, and then they bring friends because they find beneficial. So we're looking to find that right recipe. Also opportunities where students and families can work together and do activities and learn together has been proven to get more a higher attendance. And I mean, we have some events where we have huge RSVPs and they come. So they don't just RSVP, but they also come. So I think now they're starting, they know, like they mentioned, they trust these people, they developed a relationship with them and they bring their friends. So we are seeing that increase.
Yeah, I think that bring a friend piece is very important.
Yeah. And they all get PBIS tickets for their school, for their children, every time in every event that they come to. So that's always great too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, señor y señora Villanueva y los demás como ustedes, quiero agradecerles su colaboración y felicitarles los logros que han alcanzado. Ustedes, su familia y la comunidad en general que ustedes representan, su liderazgo es sumamente valioso y me inspira personalmente. Gracias. I'm just thanking them and congratulating them for everything that they've done and everything that they've achieved, not just them and their family, but for their community and those that they represent. Leadership like theirs is very valuable. And I want to thank all of our parents and our liaisons. Thank you so much for the work that you do that continually improves the success of our schools, of the homes in our area, and our community in general. And I'm sure you see it and know it much better than any of us, that the work that you're doing becomes cyclical. And as the different entities and pockets of our community continue to improve, it just feeds into that system and continues to grow. Thank you all so much. Dr. Hawkins.
I just want to thank you all for your work and your efforts. I know that this presentation tonight was the result of me watching you present about the bilingual story time, which I thought was so amazing. But so much of the work that you do is just so quietly supportive of our families and whoever needs that support. And I think sometimes we need to shine a bright light on that work that you're doing, because you do make a huge difference for our families, for our children, for our community. And I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you all very much. We've got one more presentation this evening, a presentation on Prop 28 block grant expenditure plans. Mr. Clement.
Okay, so as Mr. Heinlein pulls that up for me, these are pretty straightforward, but we're going to go over our plan for the Prop 8 or Proposition 28, program money, and then the 2 block grants that came in. Go ahead to the next slide. So go ahead one more. When we start with the Proposition 28, one of the things I want to point out right away is this is a program versus a grant, right? So the other 2 are going to be individualized one-time monies that the state's been given to us. The Proposition 28 money is ongoing money that came into effect with the passing of that law on one of the previous elections, right? So there's some requirements that come with this money. It requires us that 80% of it or more has to be spent on people. So that means the material supplies or partnerships that we do can't be more than 20%, but there's also a limit of 1% indirect costs. So that really means our materials and supplies aren't going to go above 19%. So we can make sure that we can stay above that limit. Go ahead to the next slide. This is a breakdown of what it will look like here in Saugus. We actually are going to end up being probably more about 81% people. We're looking at creating a visual and performing arts team, or VAPA as the acronym speaks to that. We will have 15 members of that team, and we will have 3 leads. So essentially, if you can think of 3 teams of 6 that will be able to go in and support schools. It's very similar to our music program that's running right now, where they're able to go to school sites and provide music. However, this is a completely different and new program. These are 6.5-hour employees, so they will be here for the majority of the school day. The VAPA program does offer in-school instruction. We do have the option of expanding to after school if we choose to do that. It will give us the opportunity to do much more in-person instruction compared to what we're doing now with just the smaller team of 5 that are only here for fewer hours. So we're excited to really do that. We are going to begin with a focus of strengthening our current programs. So we have a current art and music program that we are looking to solidify and really make better and make it as good as we can be before we move into some of the other more advanced groups like theater and dance and things. Plus, we have to hire 18 people. So that's going to be a challenge and won't happen all at once. So as we get those people on board and identify their skills and strengths, we'll be able to expand our team, or expand our program into all of the different VAPA areas. When you look at the 18% that will roughly make up the materials and supplies and ongoing money that we have each year, you can see a example of some different items that we'll be looking into: art supplies, musical instruments, digital equipment, audio equipment, could be costumes, props, theater equipment. Also could be educational partners, field trips, assemblies, things like that, or different items that will help us display artwork or have presentations or events as a district, looking to build maybe a community showcase or something where we can show off our students' work. Small little message there on the side, just a special thank you. Last year, we had a pretty decent sized parent and employee committee come together to really talk about how to spend a lot of this money that we've been receiving. One of the block grants that's coming up next is going to be tied to this. You're going to see how they work together, and some of the money that we have earmarked in that grant that will go towards this program and some of the one-time costs. So we want to thank those parents and those staff members that participated last year. Go ahead, Nick. Okay, so the first grant we're going to talk about is the Art, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant. It's a mouthful, to say the least. These are one-time funds that need to be spent by June of 26. Go ahead, Nick. So you can see the breakdown. The funds started this year. Basically, when you look through down this year, we have some of the initial art supplies and instruments and things that we're going to be spending for the Visual Arts and Performing Arts program, the VAPA program. When you look ahead at next year, we're going to have the ability to look at our 3-year contracts with our major partners or our major programs that we're using. Discovery Education, Next Gen Math, our iReady program, Elevation that we use for our English learners and monitoring their progress. Panorama, which is the new program that's going to be, that contract is on tonight. It's going to, Panorama, I'll talk more about it when we get to that contract, but it's going to bring a lot of our different programs all together and tie it into one. We also put some money aside to extend our current math program. The state of California is very delayed in rolling out the new math framework. They have now indicated that we will not have an approved list of materials to adopt until fall of 2025, which means our current math program will be out of date. We need to supplement and add in some materials so that our existing program can get us through until we can adopt. That cost is relatively not the worst case scenario. So that's a good thing. And it's nice that we have this block grant to use so that we don't have to use adoption money, because the language arts adoption will be right on the heel of math, and both of those are pretty expensive. So we're looking at some unique budgeting so we can make sure that we're in a good position for that. We also have some built-in professional development and some conferences that it's money that has been in our LCAP in the past, but we have some other priorities that we're working at. We can shift some of our PD money and conference money into the grants. When you look at some of the totals, you can see that we've got indirect costs taken out. The math is not perfect on this because they fluctuate a little bit, but Mr. Heinlein assures me that we were pretty close, and we know that things will come in and expenditures will alter those dollars. But that's the guide that we're going to follow. Go ahead, Nick. Okay, so the last one is the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. This one is a little bit longer. We have until June of 2028 for learning recovery. Go ahead, Nick. When we look at these dollars, the majority of this year's dollars, that is going for the intervention TOSAs that are out there working at each school site, pulling intervention groups and working with our paraeducators. Currently, this year, our paraeducators for intervention are being paid out of the, I believe it was yes or $3 from a previous grant. So you don't see them in there for this year, but you do see the instructional assistants in there for next year for intervention. The number for the TOSAs significantly goes down because as we start to phase out that program, we will move from having 14 to 8 intervention TOSAs next year, and they will move into a focus of writing versus being focused on intervention. Then as you look out a few more years, you can see some smaller amounts for professional development and conferences after that previous grant is expended. So we won't be doing that for 25, 26 because we have that money allocated in the other grant. But that will extend us out so we can continue to make sure that our teachers and administrators have the current training and we're able to train and implement, especially as we're looking at math and language arts coming in. With that, we'll take questions.
Okay, Ms. Grease.
I'm gonna ask a really dumb question.
Yeah.
So of the arts, Prop 28, arts and music and schools funding, how much is actually art and music based on the 5.5 million?
So the art, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant is very deceiving because it starts with art and music in the title, right?
It's not.
It is inclusive of most everything.
And we're choosing to not, as a district, we're choosing to not do anything in arts and music and help fund
Well, there's $1
for
million.
these instructional materials.
There is still $1 million
So
specifically.
great. So which one, that's what I'm asking.
Yep.
So what specifically is art and music focused?
So when you look at the VAPA art supplies column, so 23, 24 this year is $342,000.
Uh-huh.
The year after is another 400,000. The year after is another 400,000. It's 1,142,000. That's specifically for art, music, and VAPA. That is ongoing to the about 1.2 or $1.3 million that we're taking in for Proposition 28 yearly.
So 21% of the funds. Is that not disproportionate? I don't know.
It's actually quite a bit, I think. When you look at an entire district and being able to use this for.
Not arts and music. So what do we get with the VAPA? Like, what is that? Like, what supplies is it?
Visual and performing arts. I mean, that's a very broad question. It could be anything from musical instruments. We're gonna look at.
But we don't have those at all school sites, right?
We will have it at all school sites.
Starting next year? So
Yep.
the extra 400 is gonna pay for, how many schools have it now?
Well, they all have it right now, but it's light,
I was gonna say, because I don't
right? They don't have as much access.
know how
because
many schools have it. Just curious.
all the schools have it.
All the schools have arts, music instruction from our current music.
Mhm.
So then the 400 is gonna give all 14, 15 school sites how much additional? If you're saying that it's light now, like, what does that mean?
Well, it means that they only are visited a couple of times throughout the year right now for in-person instruction, and the rest of it's online. But when we have 3 teams going through and rotating compared to 1 team, it will at least triple the amount of exposure and access that they'll have.
So you'll go to 9 visits a year?
Roughly, we don't have a schedule worked out yet because we don't have all 18 people
I'm just
arriving?
hypothetically, given this number, you're saying it triples, right? So it goes to 9 visits a year and then the rest of
I would
it
say at
is
least.
online.
But most of it will be in person. I don't, we have built a really good online bank of lessons following the standards for music. Those will exist. And they're actually being edited right now, so they're being improved.
I just
But our
think
focus is the in-person part, right? That's
yeah,
where
it'd
we
be
really want to
interesting,
go.
like, how do you flip it, right? Like, how do you flip it so that in-person instruction is more than digital? Because we go so digital heavy, right? Next Gen, iReady,
Right.
all of the other assessments are online, right? How do you flip it so that you get more valuable in person, right? Because people learn differently in person than they do digital.
Absolutely, which
And-
is why
and-
we're excited to have this team so we can actually,
Totally. I just
person.
wonder, like, I don't know.
Well, we
9
try to
visits
do
a year doesn't seem
Yeah.
like a lot if you just break it down.
We try to do a combination, and use the digital piece. I want to be clear with the digital piece because we don't have a lot of staff currently and we're looking to hire more staff, but that will be limited because the entire state is looking to have these funds to hire more staff. At having the opportunity to do live instruction via the IFP. So they can do the live instruction, but they'll get it at multiple school sites. So it's not perfect. Love it to be a full-time music teacher and arts teacher at every school, but we'll work towards having them be in person as much as humanly possible based on the number of staff that we can hire. And that's why we're using, I mean, the money is earmarked for staff. And that's why we're using the instructional materials block grant to buy the supplies.
Great.
Mr. Drunky.
Just to follow on Ms. Grease's question. The staff that we're going to be adding are additive to everything that we're doing now, right? And that includes certificated teachers, also including music and art in all of the things that they teach when they can, right? It's not
Yeah.
just.
They have
an art
access.
Program.
They have access to all the music lessons, all the art lessons, and they can also do that as well.
Okay. And then besides the supplies, which is the 1,142,000 that you mentioned for supplies, obviously there's another $1 million+ from the Prop 28 school funding program, which is ongoing, correct?
And that's where the majority of the workforce will come from. That has to be 80% people. So that's where the employees will come from.
Great, thank you.
I had very similar questions and I think a couple of my questions got answered. So clearly not dumb questions at all. And so it sounds like the vast majority of this is not just art, music, theater appreciation, but actual direct instruction intended to build aptitudes, proficiency, things like that.
The music team's done a really great job of actually creating lessons, following the music standards at a progression from the little ones all the way to 6th grade. So when you go through this program, you're not going to just have a repeat of lessons that are going to be the same. The level advances, the technicality advances, the practice advances, and once they follow it all the way through, it's very detailed and pretty impressive.
We know that because West Creek is one of our arts and music schools. That's their brand, right? They have been working closely with Cal Arts for additional enrichment kinds of services for their school. Because of the work that our current music teachers have done and the way we've structured sort of a foundational program across the board, they've had to up their game, so to speak, because the kids are coming into the program now with more knowledge of being able to read music and that from the work that our team has done. So we're excited.
So I would encourage, and I'm assuming that further community partnerships like that would soon follow. And then, there's professional development monies in here. Are there going to be any professional development sessions for those gen ed classroom teachers in the area of visual and performing arts so that they can then take what they're watching their kids learn and follow up on it?
I mean, definitely good possibilities.
Okay.
We have a lot to take in as we develop that program.
Mhm.
And we have the funds to do it. So it'll be kind of exciting.
Right. It's a significant investment on behalf of the taxpayers. And again, thank you all. And I think a coordinated effort could really give us some significant outcomes.
And hopefully, I mean, this Proposition 28 money has been supposed to be here and it's here and
perpetuity.
It's not going away, but it keeps sliding around a little bit, but it seems positive. So we're excited.
Arts and music curriculum at the elementary level has always been, or at least in the 30 years I've been in education, looked at as a extra.
Uh-huh.
So during the pandemic, we started looking at arts and music instruction as a foundation, as a district, so that we could come up with some basic pieces. Although they were very basic, they were there and consistent across all schools, all grade levels. These dollars, this Prop 28 dollars, which are earmarked specifically for hiring staff, which creates both a challenge and a plus, right? We get to hire specific staff for it, allow us to extend that piece. So schools that are arts and music focused, like West Creek, will continue to have enrichment pieces, but that won't be at the exclusion of everybody else.
The other schools. Okay, and you've seen the research as well as I have for decades. The research has borne out without exception that these types of programs are not extra. And in fact, they undoubtedly improve outcomes in all of the other academic areas, in social emotional areas, improve the college and career readiness, and decrease things like suspensions, expulsions. They just improve, well, every area on our dashboard, I suppose. So,
and one thing about arts programs that I've learned over the years is they are also very dependent on the staff that fill them.
Yeah.
Arts and music folks are very creative. And so while us mere mortals may have certain plans for what we would do, once we get those arts and music people in those positions, the plans evolve.
And we've seen that with our current music people. I mean, what they've done with that online bank of lessons and the progression and standards is really amazing. I mean, it's something we couldn't have anticipated, but we've worked with them and Robin's done a good job of wrangling them and keeping them focused and getting them out there. So it's been
And the
great.
kids really like it because they see them online as a videotape. And then the few times that the teachers get to come into the classroom, they're really excited because now they've met like a celebrity, you know, they've watched them online and now they're seeing them in live. So that part's cool too.
And Dr. Stevenson,
Yes.
I did hear Mr. Clement say when we hire in 18.
Yes, when we hire.
HR loves me.
ready? Any further discussion or questions?
Yes, I love him.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's 9:45. Just want to take a check. How we doing? Can we take a quick break?
Yes, please.
Ready to power through after that? We've got a couple dozen items still left. Alrighty, we'll take a quick recess and continue with section 5 when we get back. Let's go ahead and continue. Moving on to section 5. Item A, approval of the Proposition 28 program plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
do we need to discuss it first? We've already discussed it, right? All righty. Again, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item B, approve the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant Plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Nay.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Alrighty, item C, approve the Art, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant Plan. I will move. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And item D, approve Panorama Education Saugus Contract 23-24-249. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Mr. Clement?
So this is the program that we mentioned. It's actually going to encompass several different programs that we already use. Our SST process, the Destin Mini, which is the SEL screener, Illuminate, which is houses information and data and assessments. They'll all come together and we'll be able to use the one program. One of the key factors with this is we'll be able to use it for our LCAP survey, which this year we're required to actually track by different demographic group. So our Survey Monkey tool would have made that horribly difficult, and this will make it very simple, and we're going to save about $25,000 a year. Yay.
Kudos. Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All righty, item E. Adopt a resolution 2023-24, number 52, a resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District recognizing and honoring National Women's History Month. Theme for 2024, women who advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Mr. Clerk, this is a resolution. Oh, wait, we need Mr. Clement
The
first.
title said it all.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Trunky, this is a resolution.
Mrs. Grease.
Aye.
Mr. Watson.
Aye.
I vote aye. That's 3 ayes, no nos, and 2 absent.
Alrighty. Thank you. Item F, adopt resolution 2023-24, number 53. A resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District for recognition of Conservation Bird and Arbor Day. I will move to approve.
Second.
Alrighty, Mr. Clement,
Once again,
we good?
title speaks for it.
Okay,
Save the
How come
bird.
just the birds?
right?
You
Those
know,
girls.
we got to talk to the state about that, but it is for conservation, for the environment,
Birds and trees,
birds and trees.
no rivers, no deserts.
Okay, any further questions? Alrighty, Mr. Clerk.
Mrs. Grease.
Aye.
Mr. Watson.
Aye.
I vote aye. That's 3 ayes, no nos, and 2 absent.
Fantastic. Item G, conduct first reading of board policy and administrative regulation in the 5,000s. Students. Mr. Clement.
Okay, so switching gears here into the couple of policies. This one really just changes some language for the enrollment date with the TKers. It's going to slide every year, so that's primarily the changes for the preschool early childhood education.
Okay, any questions, comments? Alrighty, then we will bring it back for second reading on our next agenda. Item
Adoption, yes.
and adoption, correct. Item H, conduct first reading of board policy and administrative regulation in the 6,000s instruction. Mr. Clement.
So this one also is a very small tweak. The language that changes in the AR just talks about parent opt-out, right? So they have the right to opt their children out of health related to sex education. But But what they're saying is that that does not include discussions that are centered around gender, gender expression, and that sort of thing.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Alrighty, then we will bring it back on our next agenda for second reading and adoption. Alrighty, item 7A, approve visual and performing arts specialist job description and post to fill. I will move to approve that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alrighty, Dr. Stevenson.
All right, so this is our new VAPA specialist job description. I think Ed spoke about it quite a bit already. This is the position that we are looking to hire with 15 people who specialize in visual and performing arts.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it has passed. Item B, approve head visual and performing arts specialist job description and post to fill. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Dr. Stevenson.
All right, this is the head. So this is the lead position. We're hiring 3 of these people.
Alrighty, fantastic. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it passes. Item 8A, approve 2022-23 Saugus Union School District Annual Audit Report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Mr. Heinlein.
For these next 3 items, Alan Su from our audit firm Eide Bailey will give us a brief presentation.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. Let me start the presentation. This thing is in my way. Well, let me just go through like this, having some difficulties. But for a brief introduction, my name is Alan Su. I'm with Eide Bailey. We're an independent CPA firm with the district. I'm a senior manager on the engagement that oversees the audit of the district, including the audit related to Measure EE. So what's being presented generally for the district audits, we present 3 separate opinions in the report. We have the financial statement audits, which includes the internal controls and other state compliance opinion. We have our opinion on the federal awards, which also includes the compliance and internal controls over federal programs. And then last, we have an opinion related to state compliance. These are generally based on procedures that are issued by the state, and we follow them closely on each of the state guidelines. And the second audit report that we have is the bond reports, which are Measure EE. The bond report can be broken out into 2 pieces. The first piece is the financial statement piece, which includes the internal controls and compliance. And then the second piece of our opinion includes the performance audit. The performance audit piece of the Measure EE report is where we review expenditures of Measure EE to ensure that the expenses incurred aligns with the ballot measure that has been voted by the voters in the community. So an audit that we perform, as noted in our opinion, we provide reasonable assurance, meaning that we do not mean it's total assurance, meaning that we do not review every transaction of the district. We just ensure that the financial statements are free from material misstatements. Material misstatements are based on materiality. That's that we do a risk assessment at the district. So we evaluate the internal controls of the district, and evaluate which areas are higher risk, and then we base that risk assessment in our final audit of the district. At each audit opinion, we give an opinion on the financial statements and each of the reports that was previously mentioned. We did issue an unmodified opinion on each of the individual reports that's being presented. Unmodified opinion is the highest assurance that can be provided on the audit. Also, in addition to the audit, there are certain areas that we are required to assess as a high risk, or also known as significant risk. These areas are management override and revenue recognition. So these risks, we always apply them as significant risk at every audit that we have, since this is a requirement from our auditing standards. So just because a district, we assess it as a significant risk, doesn't mean we found any issues with these areas. This means that we have a heightened sense of risk, and we perform additional procedures to mitigate the risk in these two areas. Our testing of transactions, as I mentioned, we do not audit every single transaction. Basically, what we do is we test or audit each transaction using a sampling methodology, either by materiality or by AICPA sampling guidelines. So one of the main focuses, the main page in the audit report is the summary of auditors' results. This outlines the results of our audits, which includes the financial statements, the federal awards, and then state compliance at the very bottom. So based on the summary of auditors' results, we did not have any control deficiencies, meaning that we did not find any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. This is related to all three financial statements, federal awards, and the state compliance piece of our audits. And also, if you look in the middle of the summary of auditors' results, it details of the federal programs that we have reviewed and audited, which we did not find any issues with as well. I've went through this really quickly. Financial statement audits, no material weakness in internal controls. We didn't find any significant deficiencies in internal controls. The federal compliance piece, we audited 2 major federal programs, which also includes the ESSER and GEAR funds. Those are the COVID-19 additional fundings that the districts received. There were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified related to those programs. And then for the state compliance piece, we issued an unmodified opinion for all the state compliance state programs that we were required to review. And then on page 88 or page 93 is a schedule of financial trends page. This page focuses mainly on the general fund, and it reports on how well the district is doing within the past 3 years. In all 3 past years, it was noted that the district incurred operating surplus. The district projects an additional surplus in the 23-24 budget. The ADA is projected to increase from 2023 to 2024, but we also noted that available reserves are declining. And then related to Measure EE, the financial statement piece of the Measure EE, we issued an unmodified opinion. We didn't note any internal control deficiencies. And then related to the performance audit, reviewing expenses, we reviewed approximately $12.9 million of the expenses, which equates to approximately 85% of the total expenses reported in the 22-23 fiscal year. And none were found non-compliant. Okay, any questions?
Ms. Grease?
Nope.
Mr. Trunky?
Just one question. There was one transaction, or I think it's two transactions actually, identified as misstatements. Can you just confirm? I think both of those are below the materiality threshold, so they're immaterial. Is that
Yes,
correct?
based on your review, are you looking at the governance letter that was addressed to the
Yes.
board?
Yes.
Okay. Let me open that up really quick. 1 second.
It's page 4.
Page 4. Okay, I see those. Okay, those two adjustments are past adjustments. Those adjustments were related to prior year past adjustments. So in the last year, those adjustments were related to the cash and county fair market value. Since we passed on these, they become, we note that these are prior past adjustments, and we were able to pass on these adjustments because they were below our materiality levels. So we have a materiality threshold set by based on the district's financial activity. And based on that activity, we have threshold of dollar values. And if the dollar values of these adjustments are below that value, we have the opportunity to pass on these adjustments and not restating the financial statements.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, I've got no questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So Mr. Heinlein, that covers items A, B, and C.
Correct.
All righty, thank you. So I've got a motion and a second to approve item A, the district annual audit report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item B, approve 2022-23 Community Facilities District Annual Audit Report. I will move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The item is approved. Item C, approve 2022-23 Building Fund Measure EE Annual Audit Report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item D, approve joint powers agreement with the Santa Clarita Valley School Food Service Agency, Saugus contract number 23-24-242. I will move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Heinlein.
This is a periodic agreement that comes before the board for review and renewal. The process with the agency is that all the board of the agency, which every elementary district in our valley is a member, comes together, we review it, we make additions, we make subtractions, we make it as perfect as we possibly can. And then it goes to all the member districts for approval.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item E, approve Sierra School Equipment Company, Saugus contract 23-24-250, school furnishings, office furnishings, and accessories, Rosedale Elementary School, new classroom furniture project pursuant to public contract code section 20118. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Mr. Heinlein.
As is our practice, whenever we use a alternative to bidding, we bring it to the board to approve the agreement to piggyback on an existing contract for furniture.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. item is approved. Item F, approval of declaring certain district-owned property as surplus. I will move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Heinlein.
This meeting, we have a varied list of items that will be up for auction after.
Various and sundry goods. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Item passes. Section 9, item A, approve casting votes for Region 22 for the 2024 CSBA Delegate Assembly. Do I have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve votes for all three candidates.
Okay, I will second. Any question or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Can I abstain?
Sure.
Okay, I abstain.
Okay, I will vote aye.
Aye.
And the item passes 2-0 to 1-2. Okay. General functions, I'm sorry, item B, approved resolution 2023-24, number 54, a resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District declaring an excused absence from a special board meeting for Christopher Trunke. I will move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Righty. Any questions or comments? This is a resolution. Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Greaves.
Aye.
Mr. Watson.
Aye.
I abstain. Resolution passes with a 2-0 vote. One abstention.
Thank you. Item C, approve resolution 2023-24, number 55, a resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District declaring excused absence from a regular board meeting for Christopher Trunke. I will move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ready. Any questions, discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Greaves.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
I abstain. Resolution passes with a 2-0 vote with one abstention.
Okay. Thank you. We've got 2 items left on the agenda. Not sure how much discussion there will be on those 2 items. It's now getting close to 10:15. Are we good with moving on these 2, or do we want to table them for a future meeting?
We should table since the other 2 members aren't here.
Okay. I have a motion to table item where am I? 9D and E. I would second that motion. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So as long as everyone's good with it, I'm going to ask Dr. Hawkins to move that to the March, was it 12th meeting? Because the meeting between now and then is quite full. Alrighty, and with that, our next regular board meeting is February 27th. Anything else? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Hi.
This meeting is adjourned at 10:14 PM. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.